Tonight's meeting of the Metropolitan, Nashville, and Davidson County Council is coming to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network. Good evening, everyone. I'm Pat Nolan, your announcer for this program. Tonight, the 15th Metropolitan Council holds its 70th business meeting of a four-year term. This is the 16th council meeting of 2022. That includes one special adjourned meeting held earlier this calendar year. Tonight's council agenda is 38 pages long with 107 items. That includes one resolution on public hearing, 30 second reading ordinances on public hearing, 35 regular resolutions, 25 first reading bills, 13 second reading bills, and 13 ordinances on third and final reading. In addition, the council will consider 13 mayoral appointments and reappointments to 6 different metro boards and commission. That includes a reappointment to the Auditorium Commission and an appointment to the Board of Health. Others include 2 appointments to the Fire and Building Codes Appeals Board and 1 appointment and reappointment to the Human Relations Commission. There's also 3 reappointments and 2 appointments to the Nashville Education, Community, and Arts Television Board, along with a reappointment and 1 new appointment to the Metro Tourism and Convention Commission. All these citizens who serve on these boards are doing so as volunteers. Major action for the council tonight will be the consideration of more legislation in opposition to the recent Supreme Court decision overturning the constitutional right to an abortion after nearly 50 years. One bill is BL 2022-1372. It's on second reading. It adds an additional requirement to Nashville's Do Better bill. It will require those companies, quote, seeking economic and community development incentive grants agreements or pilot, that's payment in lieu of taxes agreements with the Metropolitan government, to provide their employees with access to obtain medical treatments that is otherwise unavailable in their respective home state. The council also has another ordinance on second reading that would ban the use of license plate reader information to assist with enforcing laws outlawing abortion or bills outlawing or laws outlawing interstate travel to obtain an abortion. Another major action tonight is the continued debate over whether Nashville should seek to be the host of the 2024 Republican National Convention. A month ago in July, legislation to do that was withdrawn on first reading before the council even took it up. There has frankly been not much support in the council for Nashville hosting a national political convention due to security costs and other concerns. Supporters withdrew the measure to try to work out these concerns and resubmit the proposal, which is back on the agenda tonight. But there really are no real changes in the first reading ordinance, so why are they bringing the matter back? There are numerous reports that supporters are bringing it back here, including Tennessee Governor Bill Lee and legislators, are taking a different approach this time. Instead of threatening to punish the city for not taking advantage of hosting an event that has worldwide profile, they say, and could bring up to $200 million to Nashville in economic impact, instead they've been trying to offer incentives. According to administration officials, there have been 4 topics of discussions offered, possible carrots to convince the council to approve the plan. One would be expanding Medicaid in Davidson County, allowing inclusionary zoning, increased funding for metro schools, and also impact fees. There are 2 impact fee bills already before the council. One is sponsored by Robert Swope, who is also sponsoring the RNC contract legislation. Council member at large Berkeley Allen has proposed an amendment to one of tonight's resolutions that will require the state to allow Nashville to have impact fees and inclusionary zoning in exchange for hosting the 2020 RNC convention. That amendment will be part of a council debate on the RNC convention. There actually are 2 resolutions close to the end of the resolutions part of the council meeting. One of the resolutions in favor of the convention being here. The other was originally drafted to oppose any political convention being held in Nashville. But the language of that second resolution has been toned down, not to say that exactly or explicitly in the substitute version that's being offered tonight. Perhaps we are seeing the terms of the city hosting the RNC being negotiated in some ways on the floor tonight. Resolutions are set to come up before the contract legislation. These may well create test votes to see again if the RNC contract is going to be worth debating. It does appear that already at this point tonight that these negotiations have not borne fruit, and it's more likely than not that the first reading bill will not get through. Nashville will not be considering being a host city for the RNC convention. Even if the contract did pass on first reading tonight, it'll be the first meeting in September, the first Tuesday in September, on September 6th, before the council could give final approval on third reading. The Republican National Committee is set to select its convention site on Friday of this week. An RNC committee has already recommended Milwaukee, which has already actually approved its RNC contract to be the site for the Republican convention in 2024. We'll see what happens tonight as this comes up again. Elsewhere on the agenda tonight is on public hearing is BL 2022-1140. That's the rezoning of the Rivercrest apartments near the East Bank and near the huge new historical development there. Residents have been upset about being evicted from the current facility and have been trying to stop the rezoning so they can find affordable housing. Indeed, the bill has been held up here in the council for months. Now, a community benefits agreement has been put together by the Nashville Urban League. It's supposed to be legally binding and will cover a 30-year period. It contains affordable units that will be available based on government income guidelines. But residents say those income levels don't work well in an era of skyrocketing rents and housing costs due to an unrelated development over proposed height modifications of the new development being built where Rivercrest is. Public hearing will be postponed tonight until September. Under resolutions, RS 2022-1633 would create a task force to initiate a study to determine the 5 most probable locations for potential waste transfer stations within the county to be completed no later than July 31st, 2023. This item was deferred 2 weeks ago. RS 2022-1662 awards $685,000 to the Center for Nonprofit Management in a public safety reduction pilot grant funds. RS 2022-1664 accepts a $500,000 grant from the state to develop and implement an evidence-based specialized infant and toddler court to serve children ages newborn through 36 months. The Safe Baby Court will reduce the incidence of child abuse, neglect, and endangerment to minimize the effects of childhood trauma on small children and provide family stability to participants in the program. RS 2022-1677 would accept a $1.5 million grant from the Friends of Warner Park to pay for the next phase of improvements in the Warner Parks, including tree plantings, park entrance gates, nature center operations and support, and invasive plant removal, and more. Under another memorializing resolution tonight, the council will honor the retirement of Judge Randy Kennedy, who's also a former member of this body. The council will also recognize the Music City Chorus as the 2022 Barbershop Harmony Society International Champions. A memorializing resolution that might cause some pause in the council tonight is RS 2022-1684. It would support Council District 1, the Bordeaux community and its residents, along with condemning any future environmentally unsound structure, development, and services being allowed in the district. Resolution also comes as its sponsor, 1st District Councilman Jonathan Hall, is facing a recall effort. Those supporting the recall have to gather the required signatures, which is 15% of registered voters in the district, or about 2,500 signatures. Have to do that by mid-August. If they do get enough signatures, the recall vote would be held in December. One bill of note on first reading would take advantage of new state law to ban indoor smoking and now vaping in certain age-restricted, which is 21 and up venues such as bars and clubs. Indoor smoking in other non-age restricted venues such as restaurants and public buildings has been prohibited since 2027. The only remaining exemptions will be tobacco stores, vape shops, and cigar bars. On second reading, the creation of a Nashville Entertainment Commission is back on the agenda tonight, but it was likely to be deferred again. It was indefinitely deferred the last time, and by council rule, if a bill comes back that quickly, it has to be deferred again once it's put back on the agenda for the first time. Tonight's meeting is again being held during the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. State law has stripped the Metro Health Department of the power to continue to have a mask mandate in city-owned buildings. Our cases continue to rise in Nashville again. The federal CDC says we are a community again with a high level of transmission for the Omicron variant of the virus. Therefore, wearing masks tonight here again is recommended but not required. If you want to follow tonight's council meeting as it progresses, you can find the agenda and a staff analysis online. Just go to the Metro Council portion of the Nashville.gov website, then go to the Legislative Information Center. We'll also be placing the bill numbers on screen when they come up so you can follow along and keep up with where we are on the meeting agenda. Let's go now to Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. He'll be gaveling tonight's council meeting to order shortly.
my name's Sean Henry. Thank you. It's out on Baker Road in a rural area, and it's zoned AR2A. They have a 30,000 square foot farm. They would like to do some events. Yeah. So your mom comes in.
Will the meeting please come to order? We welcome you to the Metro Council. Today is Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022. All members of the council, as well as the public, please rise for the invocation. Remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation this evening will be offered by Father Mark Beckman of St. Henry's Catholic Church, and he is a guest of Councilmember Tom Druffel.
Let us pray. All gracious and loving God, help us to be mindful of the many blessings of life, especially the blessings of this particular day. Thank you especially, Lord, for all the members of our Metro Council, for their willingness to be of service to the people of Nashville. Guide them, Lord, with a spirit of wisdom. Be their helper and guide. Give them understanding and right judgment and courage, a spirit of knowledge and reverence. Fill them with a spirit of wonder and awe in your presence, that they may serve each and every person, especially those most vulnerable. This we ask through Christ our Lord. Amen. You're very welcome.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation of God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Y'all may be seated. Without objection, we will suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of those members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for adoption of the minutes of the meeting from July 19th, 2022? See a motion properly seconded. Without objection, the minutes of the meeting will stand approved as written. Mr. Clerk, any messages from the mayor?
There are no messages from the mayor.
All right. Before we get started, we have an election day coming up, and we allow people who are running for office to introduce themselves at the back microphone. Do we have anybody here who would like to come forward? You are welcome to the microphone.
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor. It's so nice to be here. Thank you to the esteemed members of the Metro Council. And yes, I am running for office. My name is Linda Jones. I currently serve the city and have served for 8 years, and I would respectfully request you consider supporting me on Thursday for the election. But more importantly than that, I want to take this opportunity to thank you, to thank every single one of you. You have one of the most thankless, hard, difficult jobs in our state. You each represent a different district of diverse constituents. You have small business owners. You have people from all over the world who have lived here. You've got native Nashvillians, and you have a mix of variety and interest. And I sincerely and deeply appreciate the work you do on the budget. I appreciate those of you who are concerned about the homelessness situation in our community. I appreciate those of you who speak up for people of color and appreciate equity in our city. And I know this is a hard job. You probably hear a lot of complaints. Everybody in public service does. And all of you do it with grace and aplomb. And I don't know how many times people stop and say thank you. And I just wanted to do that publicly today. So I really appreciate your work. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. And thank you for the business you do on behalf of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Anybody else here?
I'm sorry. The council lady just asked a quick question. I'm running for re-election, Division 9 of General Sessions Court. I am the only contested judicial race on the ballot, and a lot of voters are confused. They don't even know there's an election. They don't know there's a contest. People are confused why there's a municipal general election on a Republican federal primary and a Democratic federal primary. There's a lot of confusion out there in the minds of the voters. So thank you, Council Lady Hauser, for asking that question. I'm on page 3, and I'm the second one on the ballot in my category under Division 9, Linda with a Y, Linda Jones. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. It's a very long ballot, so you may be in there for a while. All right, so A couple things before we start tonight. We have 2 new employees with the council staff. If you have not met them, Matt Purvis is here. He's our new constituent service coordinator. There's Matt right here. Matt, would you stand up? And then we have Karina Valdez, who is our new administrative assistant. She is sitting on this side. Not a good sign they're sitting apart from each other. They need to be sitting together. All right. So a couple of things. Did note over the weekend the passing of both basketball legend Bill Russell and actress trailblazer Nichelle Nichols. Both passed away this weekend. Very, very important people. They were very inspirational and very influential in their own ways. I know that's more of a national story, but they had significant impacts on a lot of the things that, the way we do things in this country. So anyway, I wanted to recognize that. Metro schools start back this Monday. I encourage you to pick a school. If you haven't already done that, call the principal and then show up ready to help. They start back Monday. I am headed to Goodlettsville Elementary School. I got that approved by Council Member Zach Young. All right. Election Day, as we noticed, is this Thursday, August the 4th. Polling locations are open. If there's any questions about where to vote for people watching this, check with the Metro Election Commission. But please vote. It's this Thursday, August the 4th. And as we get ready to get into the business of the agenda, please do not forget, again, there is a war going on with the people of Ukraine. We want to remember them and any other places that are battling for their countries and their lives. So please remember that. We are now ready to move on to elections and confirmations, and I'm looking for Councilmember Vercher, who is over there talking. Councilmember Vercher, do we have a report from the Rules Committee?
Always be trying to put me on blast, Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Yes, so for the Auditorium Commission reappointment of Ms. Susan Gorbani for a term expiring June 30th, 2025, we recommended a 1-meeting deferral, 6-4-0 against. For the board health appointment of Dr. Marie Griffin, that term expiring July 9th, 2027, we recommended approval, 8-4-0 against. For the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board appointment of Ike Hanluser for a term expiring July 19th, 2026. That was also deferred for 1 meeting, 8-4-0 against. And for the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board appointment of Mr. Tim Prowl for a term expiring on July 19th, 2026, we recommended approval, 8-4-0 against. For the Human Relations Commission appointment of Mr. Dan Cadenas for a term expiring April 18th, 2025, and also for Ms. Mariam Alba Fazli for the same term expiring April 18th, 2025. We recommended approval, 8-4-0 against. For NECAT, the Nashville Education, Community, and Arts reappointment, Ms. Brandmeier for a term expiring February 5th, 2025. We recommended approval, 8-4-0 against. And for the same reappointments, this is NECAT again, Vice Mayor, for Mr. Sam Brooks, term expiring February 5th, 2025, and also for Ms. Lindsay Ganson, term expiring February 5th, 2025. We recommended approval, 8-4-0 against. For NECAT appointment of Mr. Walter Henry Lewis III, term expiring February 5th, 2024, recommended 1 meeting deferral, 8-4-0 against. And for reappointment of Mr. Willie James Sims Jr., a.k.a. Mr. Big, for a term expiring February 5th, 2025, we recommend approval, 8-4-0 against. Tourism and Convention Commission appointment of Ms. Brittany Chandler, that term expiring June 30th, 2025, we recommended a 1 meeting deferral, 8-4-0 against. And a Tourism and Commission reappointment of Ms. Sherry Franklin for a term expiring on June 30th, 2025. We recommended approval, 8-4-0 against, Vice Mayor.
All right. So if I could get a motion on those appointments and reappointments, we can move ahead.
Absolutely. I move for approval.
All right, I got a motion, a proper second. Is there any discussion on any of the appointments or reappointments? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. So let me get this right. So the ones that have the one meeting deferral, they'll show up at the next meeting. When I call your name, if you don't mind standing up, if you're here, and just keep standing. Appointment of Dr. Marie Griffin for the Board of Health. There's Dr. Griffin. For the Fire and Building Code Appeals Board, Mr. Tim Prow. Mr. Prow. Human Relations Commission, Mr. Dan Cadenas. Okay. Human Relations Commission, Ms. Miriam Albo-Fosley. Is she here? She may have had to go on. Okay. The reappointment of Ms. Shauna-Lynn Brandmeier for NECAT. Shauna-Lynn. Mr. Sam Brooks, also for NECAT. Ms. Lindsay Ganson for NECAT. Mr. Walter Henry Lewis III for NECAT. Mr. Willie James Sims Jr., a.k.a. Mr. Big, is that correct? Okay, for NECAT. And for Tourism and Convention Commission, Sherry Franklin. So congratulations. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. Welcome to the Metro Boards and Commissions. All right, while we have still a remaining part of a party going on back there, we are ready to go on to resolutions on public hearing and bills on public hearing. For both of those, we have Spanish interpretation services available for the public hearing. Mr. Castillo is here, and Mr. Castillo, if you would come to that back mic and introduce yourself and explain what the interpretation services are and what's available, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mi nombre es Ricardo Castillo y estoy aquí para cualquier persona que necesite interpretación para la sesión de hoy. Usted me puede avisar y yo puedo traducir para ustedes. Muchísimas gracias. Thank you very much.
All right, gracias. Thank you. All right, so we are now ready for resolutions and bills on public hearing. We have one resolution up tonight and many bills on public hearing. Here's how that works for people in the back. I will call up the resolutions and bills one at a time and then refer to the sponsor. Unless the sponsor moves to defer the public hearing, the sponsor will call for a public hearing. I will then ask for a show of hands for those who are here in favor of the resolution or the bill. Then I'll ask for a show of hands for those who are here in opposition to a resolution or bill. If anyone in favor of the measure wishes to speak, I ask you to come forward to that back podium, introduce yourself, give us your address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak. Then ask if anyone opposed wishes to speak. We'll do the same thing. After that process, I will close the public hearing and refer back to the sponsor. All right, we are ready to go. The first one up tonight is resolutions on public hearing. It's RS 2022-1661 by Councilmember Vercher. It's a resolution exempting Rincon Westeco, located at 2413 Shoemate Lane, from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilmember Vercher, you are recognized.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, I think we have a committee report first for Councilmember Hancock.
Committee reports. I was distracted by Frankie Beverly out there, Vice Mayor.
That's quite okay, but I'm distracted because I can't find Councilmember Hancock. Was somebody in government operations that can tell us what the committee report is? Councilmember Benedict, do you know?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Vice Mayor. As the Vice Chair of the committee, it was 8 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. Okay, so we are now ready. I'm going to open up the public hearing. Call the public hearing open. Let me see a show of hands of those who are here in favor of RS 2022-1661. Okay, thank you. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to RS 2022-1661. Anybody in opposition? All right, seeing none, those in favor wish to speak? You're allowed to come speak if you want, or you don't have to. Okay. He's ahead of the game. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Virtue, you're recognized on the resolution.
Thank you so much, Vice Mayor. I move for approval.
All right. Got a motion to approve, properly seconded, RS 2022-1661. Any discussion on the resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. All right, we are now on bills on public hearing. The first one up is item number 2, Bill 2021-922 by Councilmembers Taylor, Glover, well, he's not here anymore, Taylor, Murphy, O'Connell, and others. It's an ordinance amending section 17.04.060, 17.08.030, and 17.16.070 of the Metropolitan Code zoning regulations to implement a distance requirement for the bar or nightclub use. Councilmember Taylor, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would like to defer this indefinitely with a quick, brief comment.
All right, so the motion is to defer this one indefinitely, properly seconded. Back to you for discussion.
Thank you. So this is now in planning, and we're waiting on a study from planning to be able to give us a recommendation on this. And so once we get that, I would definitely like to bring this back before the body. But until then, I renew my motion to defer indefinitely.
All right, so the motion by Councilmember Taylor is to defer this one indefinitely, which means obviously no public hearing. It's been properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer indefinitely? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion to defer indefinitely say aye. Opposed say no. This one passes. The motion to defer indefinitely passes. Okay, so we're on item number 3, which we can take with item number 4. This is BL 2022-1140 and BL 2022-1141. 1140 sponsors are Parker, Withers, at least on 1140 it's Parker's, Withers, Allen, Hurt, and Van Reese. It's an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from RM20 to SB for properties located at 301 North 2nd Street and 651 and 660 Joseph Avenue, northeast corner of Dickerson Pike and Meridian Street. It's 14.52 acres located in a planned unit development overlay district. And item number 4 by Parker, Withers, Hurt, and Van Reese. Ordinance to authorize building material restrictions and requirements for BL 2022-1140, proposed specific plan zoning district at the northeast corner of Dickerson Pike and Meridian Street. The proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of building. Councilmember Parker, you are recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I would not like to hold a public hearing this evening. I'd like to defer this to the first meeting in September.
Okay. On both of them? 3 and 4? Okay. So the motion is to defer both BL 2022-1140 and BL 2022-1141 to the first meeting in September, so at the next public hearing.
Yes, sir.
Properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the deferral motion on both 2022-1140 and 1141 defer to the first meeting in September. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. That motion is adopted. We're on number 5, BL 2022-1152 by Councilmember O'Connell. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from IWD to MULA zoning for property located at 897 Elm Hill Pike, approximately 430 feet east of Fester's Lane. It's 0.34 acres. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized. It sounds like notices may be an issue here.
Yes, we need to defer this one to the first meeting in September, please.
Okay. All right, so that's notices didn't go out, so this one is an automatic deferral to the first meeting in September. All right, thank you, council member. We're on item number 6, BL 2022-1270 by council members Pulley and Johnston. It's an ordinance amending section 17.12.030 of Title 17 pertaining to the calculation of required street setbacks for residential areas with an established development pattern. I'm looking for council member Johnston. All right, so she maybe have just walked out, so we'll keep going and then we'll come back to it. BL 2022-1271 by Councilmember Stiles, an ordinance amending section 17.20.030 of the Metropolitan Code to establish a minimum depth for residential garages. Councilmember Stiles, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval of a brief comment.
Say it again.
Move for approval of brief comment. I hope that came out.
Move for approval? Okay, so here's what we've got. It's a disapproved bill, so we need to, if you're going to move it, we need to see slides. But there's also a question, you have a substitute on it as well. Do you want to have a public hearing on this one tonight?
No, not tonight. I would like to explain the substitute that has been proposed, and then, forgive me, because I just blanked. I would like to defer this if I can for 2 meetings.
Okay, so let me make sure I've got this right. So you want to explain the substitute? You do not want to have a public hearing tonight. You want to? Is your purpose to put the substitute on?
I would like to.
Okay.
And then defer that.
And then defer that. Okay, so no public hearing on this measure tonight. We're on BL 2022-1271. I'm going to go to you because you're not having a public hearing. We don't need to see the slides, is my understanding. So I'm going to recognize you for purposes of the substitute. Okay.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. So this is a bill that came before us last month, where the code was just going to be amended to include regulations for the size of garages. What I am proposing is that currently we have no minimums for the sizes of garages, and what I've run into in my district is I have homeowners that bought homes that were new builds, and they can't fit cars inside because there are staircases within those garages. So there was no provision made for that. This change would allow to make room for any staircase that was built in there, and 2 cars, reasonable sized cars, not a large F-150, but 2 regular cars or maybe 1 car and an SUV to be able to fit. And I think when people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a brand new house, you want to know that you get to use it fully.
Sorry, we were clarifying something. Okay, so you're on your substitute, okay? So your motion is to approve the substitute?
Yes.
All right. Okay, so what is being explained to me is that I think because of the nature of it, it has to go back to the Planning Commission?
Okay, yes.
All right? All right,
Going back to planning.
So the idea, let me make sure everybody understands what we're doing. We're on BL 2022-1271. Councilmember Stiles is not having the public hearing tonight. She has a substitute which she would like to adopt. If the substitute is adopted, then it should be referred back to the Planning Commission. And then the question I think would be for Councilmember Stiles is she needs to defer for a certain amount of time. Do we know how long that should be? Ms. Milligan?
Hi, yes. Deferring to the September public hearing, we should be able to get this on the August 25th Planning Commission meeting.
So she could defer to the first meeting in September?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Councilmember Stiles, you're moving your substitute on BL 2022-1271, correct?
Correct.
All right, properly seconded. Discussion on the substitute. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Normally I wouldn't, I would hate for us to waste the Planning Commission's time because they spend so much time on a lot of other more important things. And so if we adopt this substitute and then it goes back to them, we ultimately still have a really bad piece of legislation that if you're buying a home, and I know a little bit about this because I've bought a home and I also am a real estate agent, you want to make sure that when you buy a home, your car fits in the garage. In fact, when I built a home 2 years ago, I at the time had a full-size F-150, as was mentioned. And I made sure to get the dimensions of the garage, and I made sure that my truck fit. So I understand that maybe in the sponsor's district there's some issues with stairs and whatnot, but I don't think doing this to the entire county is an appropriate way to fix an issue that might be happening sporadically. This seems to be a trend, but I will be voting against the substitute and would encourage my colleagues to also not waste the Planning Commission's time. Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Hancock, you're recognized.
I'd like to call the question.
All right, Councilmember Hancock has called the previous question. We're not voting on the substitute. We're just voting on whether to vote. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay, previous question prevails. So we are voting on Councilmember Stiles' her motion to amend by adding the substitute. That's where we are. All right, so at this point, we're voting on whether to approve the substitute or not. Let's try it by voice vote. If you're for it, you'd vote aye. All those in favor of adoption of Councilmember Stiles' substitute say aye. Opposed, no.
No.
I think we're going to have to go up on the board just to make sure. All right, so Mr. Clerk, if you don't mind. All right, so again, previous question has been called. We're voting on the motion to approve a substitute for BL 2022-1271. All right, we're ready. All right, machines ready. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. You're voting on an approval of the substitute for BL 2022-1271. Okay, everybody in? All right, Mr. Clerk, close the machines, take the vote. Ayes 8, noes 23, 3 abstentions. So the motion for the substitute fails. All right, Councilmember Stiles, I'm back to you as to what you want to do.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and send it back to planning for the August 25th meeting.
Okay, so the substitute has not gone on. So your bill is in the same form, which was disapproved by the Planning Commission.
I was unable to attend that meeting because I had COVID at the time, and I feel like I would like to go back to actually explain what this was. There was a lot of confusion because I was not present.
All right, I'm going to open up both Ms. Milligan's microphone and our council director. So it has gone before the Planning Commission already, and it was a disapproved bill. So it's gone through once. Now, I think what Councilmember Stiles is talking about is trying to send it back again in the same format so she can be there this time. Is that allowed through the Planning Commission rules, Ms. Milligan?
So typically, that's not specifically addressed in the Planning Commission rules and procedures, but typically if something is re-referred to the Planning Commission, but there's no change and it's in the same form as they previously reviewed it, then we would not place it back on the agenda, that the recommendation would stand. That's our standard process. I haven't had time to sort of talk with our legal rep or any of that, but that's standard.
Darby, anything to add to that?
The options right now are, a motion to approve or a motion to defer or withdraw.
Okay, so again, there's been no public hearing on this one, so I think the motion is to defer. Yeah. I think I guess you can try to send it back to the Planning Commission, but you just heard Ms. Milligan, they don't have to hear it. Or you can defer and then we can check. You can check and make sure that you can check to see whether they'll accept it as in front of them on their agenda.
That is what I would like to do.
It would need to be a motion to defer and
then you'll need
motion to defer for 2 meetings.
All right, so the motion is to defer until the first meeting in September.
Yes, please. Properly
seconded. Discussion on the deferral motion. I've got people in the queue. Councilmember Benedict.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. While I'm sympathetic to the sponsor's concern in her district, this would have a very negative effect in my district based on the plots of land and the size of the land in my district. So, you know, I also do agree with prior comments on the floor here on the substitute that, and I also am a realtor who sells houses throughout Davidson County, and this is something that is, you know, should be vetted. Just like any other thing is there when you buy or build a home, you look and see, does it have a dishwasher? Does it have a garbage disposal? Will the garage fit my car? And so these are the kinds of things that it's really up to the buyer to determine if that property is going to meet their needs. I don't think that this is something countywide that we should be looking at. And with that, I would actually, I'd like to defer indefinitely if I could make that motion.
All right, so what we've got is the motion to defer to the first meeting in September, which has been seconded. Now we have a motion to defer indefinitely. I'm looking at, it's been a while since I had one of these. A motion to defer indefinitely overrides, or do you have to stick with the initial motion? Okay. All right. So what we're hearing is that the motion for a date certain, which is what Councilmember Stiles has done, overrides yours at this point. Got it?
Yep, got it.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Vercher, you're recognized.
Thank you for the recognition, Vice Mayor. Ms. Mulligan, so we rarely delve into changing Title 17 just because of the county-wide impact. Is planning, will they be looking at this as it relates to future development? I do understand the sponsor's intent, and oftentimes we know, like, some of these issues they derive in Southeast just because of the dynamics of the quadrant where we live. Oftentimes we encounter things that haven't gone to other districts yet. And I guess what I'm asking is that it sounds like this isn't going to go anywhere, but I think it would be incumbent upon us as a city for development for us to start looking at these nuances. And as a body, we can't always subscribe to the onus is on the actual buyer, because we know we have developers that build in areas that flood, and you know we just can't always just put that on the actual buyer, when many of us know we shouldn't be allowing development in certain places. Just like the sponsor is saying, we allow homes to be built and cars can't fit into the garage. So I don't know how we do that on the planning side, that building code side. But I think it's worthwhile for us to explore from a planning point versus us trying to just arbitrarily change it countywide at this point. I hope that makes sense.
Ms. Milligan, any comments? Okay. Councilor Vercher.
Is that, I mean, will we won't? I mean, I'm trying to, so that the sponsor has something to go back to her community with. So she can say, as a city, we're looking at this to make sure that this doesn't happen to many of to our community. In our community, many of them, English is their second language. And we know we have some predatory developers. Let's just be honest and be candid. So a lot of them, a lot of our constituents, they really rely on us to get their quality of life right. So I would love for the sponsor to be able to go back to her community and be able to say, as a city, we are exploring this. We know this happened to you, but this is what we're working on so it doesn't continue to happen to someone else. That was my point, Vice Mayor.
Sure, and Vice Mayor, I'm happy to respond.
Okay, Ms. Milligan.
So the planning department, of course, is involved in sort of, the planning staff, I'm sorry, is involved in sort of one subsect of types of reviews, so typically SPs, PUDs, those sorts of things. And we do review those to make sure that there are enough parking spaces, and there are dimensional requirements within the zoning code right now. They just don't speak necessarily to interior of a garage, but there are dimensions that are within the code. And so we are certainly making sure that those are being met. And the codes department also is reviewing those with subdivisions or homes where we as planning are not reviewing them. So there are some standards in place. The code is not devoid of standards. It's just not specific to the interior of a garage. We will continue, of course, to look at it to make sure that it's something that is being addressed. But there are some things already in the code that do address it.
All right, thanks, Ms. Milligan. Councilmember Vercher.
Yeah, I just want to implore planning to do so. You may recall we had a home built out in Southeast, and this isn't an exaggeration, Vice Mayor. They had one window in the home. We had to go back out there and force that developer to add more windows to the home. So I implore planning to look at this. Development in this city is not equitable. It's far from it. And certain communities are being taken advantage of because they can come in and they can build it cheap. So I would implore planning to just look at this. Thank you so much, Vice Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. We have Councilmember Withers. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move to table the deferral.
All right, so Councilmember Withers has moved to table the deferral, which falls under item number 30, rule number 35. This is a motion to table a motion, all right, so which is the motion to defer. And it can only be debated by the maker of the motion to table and the maker of the motion against which the tabling motion is directed. So the maker of the motion to table is Councilmember Withers. Maker of the motion against which the tabling motion is directed is Councilmember Stiles. Councilmember Withers, you got to go first on your motion to table.
Thank you so much, Mr. Vice Mayor. Colleagues, this is legislation that needed to have been researched long before it was introduced, and obviously is still very much in process. And I applaud my colleague for trying to bring legislation. But what this presents in particular with countywide zoning text change amendments, and this isn't even the first one that we've had of these tonight, but these have countywide implications. It goes to the planning department. The planning department do not have adequate time to research them on behalf of the council member. In this particular case, this one went to a public hearing. We have a member of the audience today, and I'm glad that he's present, but he attended our planning commission hearing, presented fantastic evidence about the dimensions of vehicles that are actually being produced and what those maximums are like, and whether or not those would fit in garages or things like that. But what that gets down to is this is the level that sometimes community members or stakeholders can provide that research, and they're out there. But our planning department staff are trying to get through all of our zoning bills and everything all the time, and they themselves don't always have time to research it. So I just want really colleagues to think about this is a really shining example of before you submit legislation, particularly for a countywide zoning text change, please do your research first. If you can, reach out to stakeholders, reach out to the home builders, reach out to people that you think might be opposed. They might give you the best information that you could come up with. They might have a solution. But this is the problem that happens when we as council members file legislation without having done our research first, and then it goes to planning, then planning staff are trying to come up with some kind of a report as best as they can. The commission is sitting here in a position like, well, we have to make a recommendation because otherwise council's going to vote on it. And then suddenly you have a countywide zoning text amendment that is being considered by this body in a very short period of time with no research, whereas an actual zoning bill would probably have 6 months of research. So that's the reason I want to table this. If this legislation is to move forward at all, it just needs to start over. And it needs to start over with research. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Withers. Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I appreciate my colleagues' comments. To Councilmember Vercher's point, we do live in a part of town where many of our constituents are taken advantage of. I am fine to table the deferral. I do want to continue the conversation. I do also want to remind people it's dangerous to assume that because something is happening in only one part of the city, that it absolutely isn't happening anywhere else and no one else is affected. I think it lends itself to what you've heard from many of Southeast council members about feeling neglected. And so I would hope that in the future, when something comes forth, whether it's from me or anyone else, that we take the time to hear why it's being brought forth. Yes, stakeholder meetings. When you go to someone's house and they're upset because the house is not adequate for them, that they assume that they paid for would be, I think it is important that we do respond. So I have nothing to say in regards to, I'm fine with tabling the deferral.
Okay, so where we are is Councilmember Stiles has moved to defer. It was actually 2 meetings. Councilmember Withers has moved to table that deferral motion, and that's what we're voting on. So we're just voting on the tabling motion. So if you want to table the deferral motion, you would vote aye. If you don't want to table if you want to consider the deferral motion, you would vote no. Anybody got any questions about that? Got it? If you want to do what Councilmember Withers said, you would vote aye. If you want to, well, now I'm confused too. Councilmembers, if you want to defer, which was the original motion, then you would vote no. So all those, and we'll try by voice vote. All those in favor of the tabling motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Table motion prevails. All right, so now we're back where we started from. We have BL 2022-1271 in front of us, and the question is, what do we do with it at this point? So Councilmember Stiles, you had moved to defer. That didn't work. What would you like to do?
I am fine with tabling the deferral, as I said. So
That's already happened.
Make a motion, please. Then I would like to indefinitely defer.
Okay, so the motion is to defer indefinitely.
Yes.
Properly seconded. A discussion on the defer indefinite. Okay. All right, anybody, I've got people in the queue. Councilmember Cash, this is on the defer indefinite.
Yes, I will vote against the indefinite deferral. I was one of the 8 that voted to add the substitute to give Councilmember Stiles an opportunity to improve the bill, go back to planning, work through finding a solution to the problem that she's trying to solve. I think taking a disapproved, unamended bill back to planning is an unwise move. And I really think Councilmember Stiles should withdraw this and start over.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Cash. Anybody else? I've still got Councilmember Vercher and Councilmember Withers listed. Councilmember Withers? Okay.
Call the question.
Okay. All right. So Councilmember Withers has moved the previous question. We're just voting on that. Everybody in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We are now voting on a motion to defer indefinitely. Again, it was properly seconded. I think we can try this by voice vote. All those in favor of the motion to defer indefinitely, this is BL 2022-1271, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. I've got 1. Councilmember Cash, 2. I hear somebody over here. Councilmember Parker, 3. Anybody else? 1, 2, 3. The motion to defer indefinitely passes. Okay. All right, we are now on item number 8, BL 2022-1304 by Councilmember Hauser. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by amending a specific plan for property located at 505 Old Hickory Boulevard, approximately 580 feet north of Ridge Lake Parkway, Zone SP. It's 5.08 acres. Councilmember Hauser, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you. I open the public meeting.
Okay, call for the public hearing. All those in favor of this bill, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay. All those who are opposed to this measure, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, I didn't see anybody in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak? Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized on your bill.
Yes, I first want to recognize the individuals on this property for being willing to work with me and the community to make sure that there were no issues with this, and I commend them for that. I move this motion forward, please.
Okay, so the motion is to approve on second reading Bill 2022-1304. Proper motion, properly second. Discussion on this bill. Seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of Bill 2022-1304 for passes on second reading, say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes on second reading. All right, we are on all right. Apparently I forgot. I'm going forwards instead of backwards. All right, so we did skip BL 2022-1270 by Councilmember Pulley and Johnston. Councilmember Johnston was not in her seat at that time. So it's an ordinance amending section 17.12.030 of Title 17 pertaining to the calculation of required street setbacks for residential areas with an established development pattern. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
I apologize for not being in my seat previously. Committee reports, please.
Okay, there are no committee reports. Question is, do you want to have a public hearing? Okay. All right. So Councilmember Johnston wants to open the public hearing, so I will declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of BL 2022-1270. Okay, I see one hand up. A show of hands of those who are in opposition to BL 2022-1270. I have one hand on that. So, okay, so those in favor, if you'd like to speak, I think we have one. If you'd like to come on up, I need your name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak. Okay.
Hello, my name is Jeremy Barlow. My address is 1003 Sutton Hill Road, and this bill stemmed out of a appeal we have for a spec house development on our road, which took this bill, which was started in 2014, and the purpose of this bill was to establish contextual line. Now developers are using the verbiage of that bill to actually destroy the contextual line of a neighborhood, and the neighbors really don't have a way around it to fight that. So, you know, just picture houses all lined up, and now we have on our street, which we may still lose, it's in Chancery Court right now, a house going 20 feet in front, just because in the bill it says that's as far back as they can need to be pushed. So our goal is to establish contextual line, which is the base development of most neighborhoods and cities. And everybody that's been aboard, including all the developers, we met with a developer group and agreed, negotiated it and agreed on a settlement to remove this language and basically establish contextual line as the setback parameters, with the zoning administrator being able to make specific calls if he sees something that's out of whack. So it's just a simple way for neighbors to be able to protect themselves. As it is right now, we could still lose our fight against this house that's pushed up, just because there's no way for us, as in I'm representing our entire neighborhood, to be able to fight the battle. It's a hard win. So thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Barlow. All right. Anybody else in favor wish to speak? All right. Those in opposition, if you'd come on up. Name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Hello, Jeremiah Wooten, 1828 Wild Oaks Court. I don't have a huge, strong opinion against the text of the policy change itself, but I really hate the precedent this sets. Instead of going through this legislative process earlier, we had this huge group of millionaire homeowners throw a fit at the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting a few months ago and somehow convince that board to usurp this council's legislative authority and implement an arbitrary and unlawful setback. Instead of rubber stamping that board's illegal action, as he said, it's still in Chancery Court, by passing this policy, I think this body really should take action to remove and replace those BZA members who feel like they don't need to actually follow the law and instead decided to just add this additional rule that does not exist, right? Legislating is your job, not the BZA's, and I think it's incredibly inappropriate what they did, and I don't think rubber stamping this policy now kind of retroactive is a good look for this body. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wooten. All right, don't see anybody else in the queue. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval with a brief explanation.
All right, Councilmember Johnston has moved approval of BL 2022-1270 for approval on second reading, properly seconded. Back to you.
Correct. So the 2014 legislation that establishes the contextual setback, everyone knows what a contextual setback is, which is all the houses are in a certain line. There was also text that was in this legislation that gave an alternate setback of 3 times the minimum setback. So if you had a large setback, and my district has a ton of large setbacks, if you have a large setback and all the houses are set back and far off the road, they can do that, or they can opt to do 3 times the minimum setback, which I think the minimum setback is either 20 feet or 30 feet. So it gives an example of where houses can be set way out in front, which sticks out like a sore thumb. So this just takes away that loophole of contextual setback. There was a group of developers that were upset about it, so there is an amendment coming that's going to be brought forth on 3rd by Councilman Pulley. That basically gives those property owners that have purchased by a certain date and have a building permit by October the 1st, that they would be grandfathered into that 3 times the minimum setback. That has seemed to satisfy everyone. The zoning administrator is on board with this legislation. The planning commission is on board with this legislation. And I respectfully ask your approval. Thank you.
All right, so Councilmember Johnston has moved approval on second reading of BL 2022-1270. It's been properly seconded. Any other discussion on this one? Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to add my support to this because it's not just one decision at the BZA. This has come up several times. This is not just one group of homeowners throwing a fit as described. This has happened in several neighborhoods across Nashville. If it hasn't happened in your district, I'm surprised. It probably happened and neighbors just were not aware of the Metro code. Our code, it's confusing when it comes to setbacks. It literally has 2 shalls. The setback shall be determined by shall, and the setback shall be this way. So this adds clarification. While I would probably argue that the amendment may or may not be needed because of if they're vested in their permits, but I'll let Councilman Pulley work out what is his legislation. But this is not just to satisfy one group of neighbors in one part of Nashville. This is happening all over Nashville, that it is confusing and it is not applied across the board equitably, and it should be, because we all should be building to the same standards and have the same expectations when things are changing in our neighborhoods or building and pulling permits. So I wanted to add my support, and we'll be signing on to this legislation.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Murphy. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
I just wanted to add that if there is a situation where someone wanted to build in front of the contextual setback, they have every right to come before the BZA, share their hardship, to be in front of that. But to have a blanket loophole around the contextual setback, it's just not necessary. So the onus should be on each development and the BZA as it relates to specific things. So again, I'd move approval, please.
All right. So Councilmember Johnston again has moved approval of BL 2022-1270 for passage on second reading. Remember, these bills go through 3 readings. This is for passage on second reading, was properly seconded. Any other discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of Bill 2022-1270 for passage on second reading, say aye. Opposed, no. Bill passes. Thank you, Councilmember Johnston. All right, now we're ready for item number 9, which can be taken with item number 30 on your calendar. Okay? So item number 30 is the building restrictions section. Councilmember Lee, if you're okay, we'll take them both at the same time. I know you've got a substitute. Councilmember Lee?
I would love for the companion bill to go together and take them at the same time.
Okay, so we're taking item number 9 and item number 30 on the calendar, okay, together. I'll read them both. Item number 9, Bill 2022-1307 by Councilmember Lee and Murphy, an ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from AR2A to RS10 zoning for properties located at 4395 and 4421 Maxwell Road and Maxwell Road unnumbered, approximately 990 feet east of Lake Maxwell Drive, 24.61 acres. And then the item number 30, which is on page 14 of my calendar, again by Councilmember Lee, an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions requirements for BL 2022-1307, proposed specific plan zoning district located at 4395 and 4421 Maxwell Road and Maxwell Road unnumbered. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to restrict in the construction of buildings. Councilmember Lee,
yes, Mr.
going
Vice
back
Mayor.
to you on both BL 2022-1307.
I would like
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to open the public hearing. Should I ask for committee reports first?
I don't believe there are any committee reports on either bill. That's what I was just
There's
checking.
not one from planning?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. All right.
Then I would like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of 1307 and 1370. See a hand in favor. A show of hands of those, oh, lots of hands. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to 1307 or 1370. See, nobody's with their hands up in opposition. Anybody wishes to speak in favor? Okay. Again, your name, address, and you'll have 2 minutes.
Jeremiah Wooten, 1828 Wild Oaks Court in Antioch. I wasn't planning to speak on this, but I think after hearing what some of our Antioch council members spoke about earlier, I just wish that other council members would be as willing to, as eagerly support housing like this in your districts as you are willing to support housing in Antioch. And I also hope you'd be willing to support things like transit, greenways, maybe even a fire station in Southeast and these districts in the back row, as you are willing to shove housing into Antioch. So I am in support of this project, but I wish we could support Antioch in more ways than just building housing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard on this one? On these two, we've got 2 of them up before us, 1307 and 1370. All right, seeing nobody else coming forward, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized on your 2 bills.
Yes, I would like to move approval. I believe one has a substitution.
That's right. We'll do those at one at a time if you're okay.
That's fine
the first one is BL 2022-1307. Councilmember Lee, you're recognized for purposes of substitute.
I would like to move the substitution.
All right. So Councilmember Lee has moved the substitute on 1307, properly seconded. Back to you for an explanation of the substitute.
The substitute is actually just making sure that we've got all of the items that we talked about in the community meetings so that all of those things go on the bill.
All right. Anything else?
Just that I hope you all, well, we've had several, I don't know if explanation more, but we have had several community meetings in this. I've worked to try to get this at a place that it seems good for all people, and the developers are still being open to work with the community on this, so that I hope you will look at this and approve it.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Lee. Okay, so Councilmember Lee has moved a substitute on BL 2022-1307. It was properly seconded. Discussion on the substitute. Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. Substitutes adopted. Councilmember Lee, you're now on BL 2022-1307 as substituted.
I would like to move approval of the bill as substituted.
All right, so Councilmember Lee has moved approval of BL 2022-1307 as substitute for passage on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill as substituted? Seeing none, all those in favor of BL 2022-1307 as substitute say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. 1307 as substitute is passed, and now we're ready to take up item number 30, which is BL 2022-1370. Councilmember Lee, need a motion on that one.
I would like to move approval, please.
All right, so Councilmember Lee has moved approval of 1370 for passage on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion on that particular ordinance? Seeing none, all those in favor of BL 2022-1370 for passage on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. BL 2022-1370 passes on second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Councilmember Lee, sure. All right, now we're at item number 10, BL 2022-1328 by Councilmember Evans. Ordinance amending sections 17.16.060 of the Metropolitan Code, delete the limitations on veterinarian facility size and the number of veterinarian establishments per lot in zoning districts where the veterinarian use is permitted conditionally. Councilmember Evans, you're recognized on this one.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This has not been before the Planning Commission yet, so I understand I need to defer.
That's right. Okay, so defer to when?
Let's defer it to the first meeting in September. Is that enough time?
Okay.
All right, thank
this one, a motion is to defer to the second meeting, the first meeting in September for BL 2022-1328. That's the motion, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to defer to the first meeting in September say aye. Opposed, no. I barely heard anybody, but I think that was an aye. All right, so that one's deferred to the first meeting in September. All right, we're now on BL 2022-1339, item number 11, which can be taken with item number 12. BL 2022-1340, BL 2022-1339 by Councilmember O'Connell. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from IR to SP zoning for properties located at 2nd Avenue North, unnumbered 1st Avenue North, unnumbered 1500 2nd Avenue North, and 100 Van Buren Street, northwest corner of 1st Avenue North and Van Buren Street is 2.99 acres. And BL 2022-1340, that's an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions for BL 2022-1339. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Those are the companion bills. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized on both those bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe this is a case where public hearing notices were also not returned, and so we will need to defer to the first meeting in September, please.
Okay, so it'll automatically be deferred to the first meeting in September. Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. Councilmember Hauser, you've got the next one, BL 2022-1341, which can be taken with 1342. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by amending a specific plan. Properties located at 616, 618, and 620 Old Hickory Boulevard and 7315 Sonia Drive, approximately 400 feet north of Tolbert Road. It's 29.6 acres. And the companion bill, which is the building material restrictions for BL 2022-1341, proposed specific plan zoning districts located at the same addresses. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to restrict in the construction of buildings. Councilmember Hauser, you're recognized on both those bills.
Thank you. Yes, I'm going to need to defer this to the first meeting of September. The notices did not go out in time for today.
That's right. So you had a notice requirement on both those, so those will automatically be deferred to the first meeting in September.
Yes, sir.
All right. We're now on item number 15, BL 2022-1346 by Councilmember Murphy. Ordinance amending Chapter 17.04 and 1712 of the Metropolitan Code to amend regulations on accessory structures and to amend regulations on the allowed building height of single and two family dwellings in the urban zoning overlay district. Councilmember Murphy, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you. I believe this is going to planning in, Lisa, can you all confirm, is it going to planning in October?
Ms. Milligan is checking. Remember, it's one of Councilmember Murphy's bills. Yeah.
That she very willingly sent to whatever was a convenient date for planning.
Hi,
say that one can be deferred to the first meeting in September. We've got it set for the August Planning Commission.
Wonderful.
Yes.
That's a nice surprise. All right, then I will defer to that appropriate date.
Okay, so Councilmember Murphy is moving to defer this one to the first meeting in September, properly seconded. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion to the first meeting in September, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. This one is deferred to the first meeting in September. Councilmember Withers, you've got the next one, item number 16, BL 2022-1347, ordinance to amend Title 17 to amend Chapter 17.12 and 17.40 pertaining to lot averaging. Councilmember Withers, you are recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Schulman. The term lot averaging disguises the fact that this is actually the compact development portion of our cluster lot provision. We had worked with Planning and Council on the conservation development piece of that. Planning staff are now working through the lot subdivision regulation updates for unconstrained sites. We are still doing some additional stakeholder outreach. I believe we deferred this to the first meeting in September. Is that correct, at Planning?
Ms. Milligan?
Yes, the Planning Commission deferred this at their July 28th meeting to the first meeting in September, so this will need to go to the first meeting in October.
Right. So, Councilmember Withers?
I would like to defer to the first meeting in September and encourage everyone to check out the website.
October.
First meeting in October.
Okay. All right. So this one is a deferral to the first meeting in October, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. This one is deferred to the first meeting in October. We're on item number 17, BL 2022-1357 by Councilmember Taylor. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by applying a contextual overlay district to various properties located north of Buchanan Street, zoned RS5. Is 56.33 acres. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move to open the public hearing.
All right. Councilmember Taylor has moved to open the public hearing, declare it open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. All right. Thank you. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Didn't see anybody in opposition. Oh, wait a minute. There was a hand back there. All right. So, what we'll do is anybody who's in favor who wishes to speak, if you would come forward to this back podium, name, address, in 2 minutes. Anybody wishing to speak in the affirmative on BL 2022-1357. Somebody wanting to come up? Okay. Just need your name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Hi, everybody. Blue Sanders, 2712 Deerfield. Support the contextual overlay. We just did it over, I have a home over in Maxwell Heights where we've got RM20, gigantic builds right across from us. We've got single builds in the middle of the neighborhood that are, 3 stories with a balcony. They dwarf all the small homes. Cumberland Gardens, in my opinion, is Nashville's best kept secret. Don't tell anybody. It's a great little neighborhood with reasonable houses, and you know what's coming if we don't protect it. And this is the only tool we have to stop gigantic things next to our normal homes. So I support it.
Can you repeat the name of the property?
20.
Thank you. It's a secret. Okay. All right. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor, come forward. Ma'am, are you wishing to speak? Okay. Come on up. Name, address, in 2 minutes.
Good evening. My name is Angel Sims. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you may want to pull the microphone down just a little bit. You can leave your mask on, just pull the microphone down.
My name is Angel Sims. I live at 2712 O'Neill Drive. I and 12 other residents who have signed a petition attesting to the support of the contextual overlay because it protects and maintains the character and integrity of our community. Cumberland Gardens. Cumberland Gardens is a part of the original Negro subdivision located in North Nashville. These homes were built in 1950 for Black veterans returning home who did not want to live in public housing. Therefore, there is an enormous sense of pride, community, care, and love. While density may be popular, it will be a disruption to the aesthetics and lives of the neighbors of Cumberland Garden. While there may be questions of restrictions and additions, the opportunity was given and planning provided up to 2,500 to 3,000 square feet could be built on the lots in question. If that's not enough, then a variance could be the answer. Further, contextual overlays have successfully existed throughout Nashville. So why shouldn't our neighborhood, Cumberland Gardens, be afforded the same protection of character, maintenance, and aesthetics of our community? Please vote in support of the contextual overlay. It supports our community, just not individual thoughts. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor? All right, those wishing to speak against, if you would come forward. Evening, I need your name, address, and then you'll have 2 minutes in which to speak.
Okay. Casey McDonald, 2626 Jenkins Street. And I'm opposing the contextual overlay because I just don't think it's suited for our neighborhood. Many of the homes are under 1,000 square feet and need additions to be suitable for growing families, people that need to take elderly parents in. Although I know we can apply for variances, that's going to take up a lot more unnecessary time for the Planning Commission to hear each individual case because there will be many. This also adds cost, time, and stress for all homeowners wanting to make additions to their home. We already have protection from tall and skinnies under the RS5 zoning, which states 1 home per lot, so tall skinnies aren't a threat to our neighborhood. Also, if some believe that this isn't enough, I would just ask that this contextual overlay go through, but allow 200 to 250% coverage so that we could add on to our homes without needing variances. So I just believe passing this is going to negatively affect our neighborhood.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to speak on this one? Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Taylor, you're recognized.
Thank you. I have a housekeeping amendment that we need to add on this bill, so I would like to move amendment for the housekeeping bill.
Okay, so we're on BL 2022-1357. Councilmember Taylor is moving an amendment to that bill. Properly seconded. Back to you. Explanation on the housekeeping.
Thank you. So this amendment will add a section that's missing from the ordinance that allows the Metro Clerk to add notations to various maps throughout the Metro Code, and that within this overlay. So that's extremely needed. So I would like to move that amendment.
All right, I'm looking at the director. This is the amendment that's going to come up a number of times tonight.
Yes.
Can you just explain it so it's going to come up so when you hear it, there's going to be a number of amendments that are like this housekeeping. It's just to correct an error in the bill.
Correct. There was an inadvertent section left off of all of these.
Okay. So Councilmember Taylor has moved the amendment on BL 2022-1357. It's a housekeeping amendment. Again, properly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. You're on your bill as amended.
Thank you. So I would like to move the amendment with a brief comment.
Move the bill as amended with a brief comment? Okay, you've got it. Properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you. So this came up a little while ago with this body. I brought forward a few legislative items required to in regards to zoning. And this neighborhood was very boisterous, to be honest, about keeping the character and context of their neighborhood. And so in that process, we had conversations, and this is one of the tools that we have in Metro to make sure that we have the opportunity to answer some of those questions or protect neighbors and whatnot. We had a series of meetings starting in October of last year, 2021, and we've been continuing to meet. We had a very overwhelming response from neighbors in several of those meetings, as well as a meeting that we had last Monday to discuss this. There were a few people that were in opposition. There were some questions that I think we were able to get answered in regards to how much square footage can be on a lot, with a contextual overlay, without a contextual overlay, et cetera. And I think some of those questions got answered due to individuals not showing. We've had many conversations. We had a planning meeting last Thursday, and it went through on consent. And so with that said, again, I would like to renew my motion to approve as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Taylor has moved, again, BL 2022-1357 as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve on second reading? Councilmember Hart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly appreciate you giving me the opportunity to stand and speak on behalf. I had several members of that community reach out to me and asking me to speak on behalf of them. Many of them are legacy residents, and while it is not a historic designation in that community, the spirit of it being historic for them is there, and it's very important to them for them to be able to keep the character and the spirit that they're, because you know it's close to Tennessee State University and Fisk and in that North Nashville community. And I'm just asking in support of the sponsor that our colleagues vote in favor of this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Hart. Anybody else on this measure? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. We're voting for BL 2022-1357 as amended for passage on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. This one passes as amended. Thank you, Councilmember Taylor. Thank you, Councilmember Hart. We're on item number 18, BL 2022-1358 by Councilmember O'Connell, which can be taken with BL 2022-1359, items 18 and 19. 1358. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from MUIA to SP zoning for a property located at 1711 Broadway, approximately 145 feet west of 17th Avenue South. It's 1.28 acres. And 1359 is the ordinance to authorize building material restrictions for BL 2022-1358, proposed specific plan zoning district located at 1711 Broadway. A proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized on those two bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to open the public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of those two measures. Right, a couple hands in the back. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to those two measures. Don't see anybody in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak. All right, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember O'Connell, you're recognized on your two bills.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move approval on both, please.
All right, looks like you may have an amendment on the first one.
Yes, we do. Sorry, we have a housekeeping amendment.
The housekeeping amendment. Okay, so let's get that one done. BL 2022-1358, the first one has an amendment. Councilmember O'Connell moves the amendment, properly seconded. It's the same type of housekeeping amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, ready to vote on the amendment. All of those in favor of the amendment to 1358 say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's on. So Councilmember O'Connell, you're on BL 2022-1358 as amended.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval, please.
Okay. Councilmember O'Connell moves approval of 1358 as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bill as amended say aye. Opposed, no. That one is passed on second reading. We're now on BL 2022-1359, which does not have an amendment on it. Councilmember O'Connell, on that one.
Move approval, please.
Motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion on that bill? Seeing none, we're ready to vote on BL 2022-1359 for passage on second reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That one is passed on second reading as well. Thank you, Councilmember O'Connell. We're on item number 20 and 21. These are Councilmember Toombs's bills. Bill 2022-1360 is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from SCN to SP zoning for properties located at Ashland City Highway, unnumbered, and Clarksville Pike, unnumbered, approximately 800 feet south of Abernathy Road. It's 20.67 acres. And then BL 2022-1361 by Councilmember Toombs. It's an ordinance to amend Title 17 by canceling a plan unit development overlay district for property located at Ashland City Highway, unnumbered, approximately 800 feet south of Abernathy Road. It's 18.2 acres, zone SCN, located within the corridor design overlay district. Councilmember Toombs, I think we can take both bills together. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open on both BL 2022-1360 and 1361. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of those two measures. Right? Seeing a number of hands in the back and this gentleman in the front. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to those two measures. I don't see any hands up in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak. Mr. Kleinfelter back there? No? All right. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized on both your bills.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I believe both of these have an amendment on them, so I'd like to move the amendments.
All right. Can we do two amendments on two bills at the same time? I think is it the same amendment?
It is.
It is the same amendment. All right, we're willing to give it a try, okay? So we've got two bills in front of us, BL 2022-1360 and 1361. See, it's the housekeeping amendment that needs to go on both. The motion is to put the amendment on 1360 and 1361. Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion on the housekeeping amendments on these two bills? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendments on both bills. Now, Councilmember Toombs, you're on 2022-1360 as amended and 2022-1361 as amended.
Thank you. Move approval as amended.
All right, so the motion is to approve both of them as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion on the two bills? Seeing none, all those in favor of both those bills as amended say aye. Opposed, no. Both those bills are amended and passed on second reading. Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. You got the next one. BL 2022-1362. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by canceling a portion of a plan unit development overlay for property located at Clarksville Pike, numbered approximately 1,175 feet south of Abernathy Road, 2.47 acres. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized on that bill.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Request to open a public hearing.
Okay, declare the public hearing open on BL 2022-1362. Show of hands of those who are here in favor of that measure. Same hands in the back. This gentleman didn't raise his hand this time, just letting you know. Okay. Those who are here in opposition to this measure. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak. Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Toombs, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Does this one have the same amendment on it?
Yes, it does.
I'd like to move the amendment.
Councilmember Toombs moves the housekeeping amendment, properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. Now you're on your bill as amended.
Thank you. Move for approval as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Toombs has moved for passage on second reading of BL 2022-1362 as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of BL 2022-1362 as amended for passage on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. That bill is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Councilmember Toombs. We are now ready for item number 23, which can be taken with 24. Councilmember Pooley and Councilmember Johnston. 2022-1363, an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from OR 20 to SP zoning on property located at 2121 Crestmore Road, approximately 34 feet south of Hoods Hill Road, is 1.15 acres. And this is the companion bill, 1364. Ordinance to authorize building material restrictions for BL 2022-1363 for the property located at 2121 Crestmore Road. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized on both those measures.
Thank you. I don't think there's any committee reports, so I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All right. Declare the public hearing open on those two measures. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of those measures. All right. Thank you. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to those two measures. Seeing none, those in favor wish to speak? Oh, okay. Name, address, 2 minutes.
Jeremiah Wooten, 1828 Wild Oaks Court. I'll just take a moment to say, since this is being built right off the Hillsborough corridor, I hope we have a budget chair who doesn't choose to cut $1 million from WEGO's budget last minute, so we can finally get frequent service on the Route 7. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, anybody else wish to speak? Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Johnston, you're recognized.
Move approval, please.
All right, so we have an amendment on the first one. Okay, it's that same housekeeping amendment. BL 2022-1363 has an amendment.
Okay.
Housekeeping amendment.
Okay, I'd move the amendment, please.
Councilmember Johnston moves the amendment, properly seconded. Any discussion on the housekeeping amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. You're on your bill now as amended. We'll do one at a time. BL 2022-1363 as amended.
Move approval, please.
Motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor of BL 2022-1363 as amended say aye. Opposed, no. BL 2022-1363 as amended is passed on second reading. And now you're on BL 2022-1364.
Move approval.
Councilmember Johnston moves approval, properly seconded. Any discussion on that one? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. That one is passed on second reading as well. Councilmember Weathers, you've got the next one is BL 2022-1365. It's an ordinance to authorize building material restrictions on BL 2022-1321. Proposed specific plan zoning district located at 501 and 1515 Crutcher Street, northeast corner of Crutcher Street and South 5th Street. It's 6.82 acres. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to restrict in the construction of buildings. Councilmember Weathers, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of BL 2022-1365. There's at least two hands. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to 1365. Seeing nobody in opposition, those in favor wish to speak? Nope. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Withers, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move approval with a brief comment.
All right, so there's a motion to approve, properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. This item is the mulch yard facility that's at 5th and Crutcher Street. I've been working with the property owner for a while now to rezone it to add some very much needed housing into the East Nashville corridor there on South 5th Street. This one is another one where we had a little bit of a housekeeping mix-up. We had the public hearing on the zoning land use side of it at last meeting, and that is on second reading today, and then this is just for the companion bill for the materials. So once this is in place, hopefully next meeting we can wrap this up and get that new housing under construction. And with that, I renew my motion for approval.
All right, so Councilmember Withers has renewed his motion. It's BL 2022-1365 for passage on second reading was properly seconded. Any discussion on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. This one's adopted on second reading. Next one is Councilmember Hall, BL 2022-1366. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from CL to MUNA-NS zoning for property located at 3517 Old Clarksville Pike. Approximately 474 feet west of Whites Creek Pike is 1.1 acres. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized on your bill.
Open the public hearing, please.
Okay, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of 1366. Show of hands of those who were here in opposition to 1366. Okay, I got hands in opposition. I didn't see anybody in favor. Councilman, Representative Moore, you're recognized if you would like to speak. Name, address, in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is Gary Moore, 2946 Morgan Road, Jordan, Tennessee. I'm here really more to make a statement than to speak in opposition or for this piece of legislation. But my statement is simple. This is a parcel of land that was at one time one piece of many pieces of parcel that was attempted to be zoned MUNA with one sweep of the brush. The residents did not want that, and they made it very clear that they did not want that. However, to my understanding, I don't think there's anyone that is aware of this property being rezoned the way it is that's stepped up and said they are opposed to it. So I'm not going to stand alone and say that I'm opposed to this zoning, although I do not really like the proposed building that's going on there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else here to speak on this one? Okay, declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized.
Move for approval, please.
All right, so you have an amendment. It's that same amendment that keeps popping up.
I do have a housekeeping amendment.
All right, so let's get the amendment on. Councilmember Hall moves the amendment, properly seconded. It's the housekeeping amendment. Any discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. Councilmember Hall, you're on your bill now as amended.
Move for approval.
Councilmember Hall has moved for approval of BL 2022-1366 as amended, properly seconded. Any discussion on the bill as amended? Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of 2022-1366 as amended say aye. Opposed, no. That bill passes on second reading. We're now on BL 2022-1367 by Councilmember Benedict. It's an ordinance to amend Title 17 by change from CS to RM20A. It's zoning for property located at 846 East Meade Avenue at the northwest corner of Emmett Avenue and East Meade Avenue. It's 0.4 acres. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With all, I don't believe I have any committee reports. I'd like to open the public hearing.
All right, declare the public hearing open. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. All right. A show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Didn't see anybody in opposition. You, sir, would you like to speak? Okay. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilmember Benedict, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is really cool. We're actually taking some commercial zoning 500 feet from Gallatin Pike, and we're going to make it multifamily. So I'm very excited about putting some density right there on our pikes, which is what the district has asked for. So with that, I would ask the body to approve. Thank you.
You have that famous amendment as well that needs to go on.
Oh, that's right. I'd like to move that amendment.
Right. It's that famous housekeeping amendment. All right. So Councilmember Benedict has moved the amendment, properly seconded. Any discussions on the amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's on. You're now on your bill as amended.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I noticed right down here I wrote with amendment, so I appreciate that. You read my notes. Thank you.
I did. I can see that far.
I'd like to move the bill as amended, please.
All right. So Councilmember Benedict has moved Bill 2022-1367 as amended for passage on second reading, properly seconded. Any discussion on that bill? Seeing none, all those in favor of 2022-1367 as amended for passage on second reading say aye. Opposed, no. That motion is approved. We are now on BL 2022-1368 by Councilmember Van Rees. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from R10 to OR20 zoning on a portion of property located at 3441 Dickerson Pike, corner of Skyline Memorial Court and Skyline Ridge Drive. It's 2.04 acres. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. I'd like to open the public hearing, please.
All right. Let's open it. Open the public hearing. A show of hands of those who are here in favor of this measure. Okay. Show of hands of those who are here in opposition to this measure. Don't see anybody in opposition. Those in favor wish to speak? All right. Declare the public hearing closed. Councilor Van Rees, you're recognized on your bill.
Yes, I'd like to move approval with a brief comment, please.
All right. You need to put that amendment.
Oh, the amendment.
The amendment.
Please, may I please put the treasured amendment?
This is, I think, the last one that we have to do this on. So Councilmember Van Rees moves the housekeeping amendment for her bill. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the housekeeping amendment? Seeing none, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. You're on your bill as amended.
Thank you very much. I would like to move the bill as amended with that brief comment.
Okay, so Councilor Van Rees has moved Bill 2022-1368 as amended for passage on second reading. Properly seconded. Back to you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to take the opportunity to explain our delight on seeing the Memorial Foundation come to Skyline Ridge Drive. For over 20 years, the Memorial Foundation has made a significant impact as a funder throughout the county in a number of different ways. When the Memorial Hospital was sold to HCA for Skyline Hospital, the foundation was formed, first under the direction of the great late J.D. Elliott, and now under the thoughtful direction of Scott Perry. An example of their impact includes 50 Forward's Madison Station's Janet Jernigan Fitness Room, which has helped me get healthier this last year, and I am grateful for that. They are returning home to Madison, and this rezoning paves the way. Scott, I think JD would be very proud of both of us on this, and with that, I move your approval.
All right, thank you, Councilmember Van Rees. So the motion is to approve it as amended, 1368, on second reading. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we are ready to vote. All those in favor of BL 2022-1368 as amended for passes on second reading say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Bill as amended passes on second reading. The next bill up is Councilmember Roten's. It's Bill 2022-1369. It's ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS 15 SP to SP zoning for properties located at 4107 Dodson Chapel Court, 4186 Dodson Chapel Road, approximately 115 feet southwest of Old Hickory Boulevard, 7.47 acres. Councilmember Roten, I think you have a notice problem.
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor, we're going to need a little work on this one, so we're going to move to defer to the first meeting in September.
Okay, so this one just automatically goes to the first meeting in September. Okay, last bill up under bills on public hearing, BL 2022-1371. It's item number 31 by Councilmember Swope. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by changing AR2A to CS property located at 6663 Nolensville Pike, approximately 375 feet northwest of Concord Hills Drive. It's 3 acres. It's a disapproved bill, so I think we need to see some slides. Ms. Milligan, you're recognized.
This is a request to rezone property from AR2A Agricultural Residential to CS Commercial Service. It's located on Nolensville Pike. The Planning Commission recommendation was to disapprove. The property is currently zoned AR2A, which is Agricultural Residential, and the proposed zoning is CS Commercial Services. Surrounding zoning include other properties also zoned AR2A, as well as properties zoned MUL, SCC, and CL. The land use policy on the property is primarily conservation, recognizing the presence of a stream, associated buffers, and floodway. And a small portion of the property along the front is policed T3 Suburban Neighborhood Evolving. T3 Suburban Neighborhood Evolving is a residential district, or I'm sorry, a residential policy that does not support rezoning to non-residential uses. I would note that that prior to Nashville Next, the very front portion of this property was policed to a policy that would have support commercial uses. During Nashville Next, we heard from residents that expressed an interest in not having both sides of Nolensville Pike in this area to be commercial. So there was a desire to change the policy so that it would not permit strip commercial along both sides of Nolensville. So the policy was changed to Neighborhood Evolving, a residential policy. For these reasons, the Planning Commission recommended disapproval.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Ms. Milligan. Councilmember Swope. Sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like a 2-meeting deferral to the first public hearing in September, please.
Okay. So the motion is to defer to the first meeting in September. Okay. Properly seconded.
Thank you.
It's just a deferral motion to the first meeting in September. Any discussion on the motion to defer? Seeing none, all those in favor of the deferral motion to the first meeting in September say aye. Opposed, no. The motion passes. It's deferred to the first meeting in September. All right. We are now ready for consent resolutions, and I'm turning it over to our pro tem. I'm leaving. I'll be back.
Okay, the following resolutions are on consent. RS 2022-1662, 1663, 1664, 1665, 1667, 1668, 1669, 1670, 1671, 1672, 1673, 1674, there's a pattern here, 1675, 1676, 1677, 1678, 1679, 1680, 1681, 1682, and 1683. Does anything need to come off? All right, here we go. Oh, sorry, Councilmember Syracuse.
1683. Can we pull that off? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. RS 2022-1662. Allen, Suara, Evans, and Stiles appropriates $385,000 from Fund Number 30096 to the Center for Nonprofit Management to receive Public Safety Violence Reduction Pilot Grant funds. RS 2022-1663, O'Connell, Suara, Bradford, and Evans amends Resolution RS 2022-1310 by transferring $100,000 in American Rescue Plan Act funds to the Metro Department of Parks and Recreation, Metro Nashville Police Department, and Metro Nashville Public Library. RS 2022-1664 by Suara approves a grant from the Tennessee Department of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Service to the Davidson County Juvenile Court to develop and implement an evidence-based specialized infant and toddler court to serve children 0 through 36 months. RS 2022-1665 by Sledge, Suara, Withers, Bradford, and Welsh approves a grant from the Metro Historical Commission Foundation to the Metro Historical Commission to assist with a portion of the costs associated with the site's master plan for Fort Negley Park. RS 2022-1667 by Suara and Evans accepts a donation from the Firefighter Air Coalition to the Metro Nashville Fire Department of a firefighter air replenishment system to the Nashville Fire Department training facility. RS 2022-1668 by Suara and Evans approves an agreement between the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration and the Metro Nashville Police Department concerning the use and abuse of controlled substances. RS 2022-1669 by Suara authorizes the Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Jenna Chisholm against the Metro government in the amount of $55,000. RS 2022-1670 by Allen, Suara, Evans, Welsh, and Stiles approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and the Martha O'Brien Center to operate a mobile unit to provide services to current and potential women, infants, and children program recipients. RS 2022-1671 by Suara authorizes the Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Shanice Brown against the Metro government in the amount of $11,573. RS 2022-1672 by Suara authorizes the Metro Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Clarence Davis against the Metro government in the amount of $25,286. RS 2022-1673 by Sledge, Allen, Bradford, Welsh, Stiles, and Suara terminates an agreement between the Metro government and the Tennessee Valley Authority, the Nashville Electric Service, and the Adventure Science Center related to the installation of a solar-powered electricity generating facility at the Adventure Science Center. RS 2022-1674 by Taylor, Suara, Bradford, and Welsh accepts a grant from David B. Crabtree to the Metro Nashville Parks and Recreation Department to provide funding for improvements to Elizabeth Park and the surrounding area. RS 2022-1675 by Suara and Bradford accepts a grant from the Friends of Warner Parks to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide seasonal staffing for the Special Work Education and Trails program at Warner Parks. RS 2022-1676 by Suara and Bradford accepts a grants package from the Friends of Warner Parks to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to continue funding staff positions and copier costs. RS 2022-1677 accepts an in-kind grant from the Friends of Warner Parks to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to provide funding for the next phase of improvements in Warner Parks. RS 2022-1678 by Taylor, Suara, Bradford, and Welsh accepts an in-kind grant from Sweetens Cove to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation to support landscaping, a new flagpole, lighting, signage, and other improvements to the Ted Rhodes Golf Course. RS 2022-1679 by Taylor, Suara, Bradford, and Stiles accepts a donation and grant from the Curb Center at Vanderbilt in conjunction with the Creative Parks Nashville and the Centennial Park Conservancy to the Metro Board of Parks and Recreation for the sculpture donation, Pathway to a Higher Note, and annual financial support for maintenance and repair. RS 2022-1680 by Syracuse, Suara, and Young approves an application for a multimodal access grant from the Tennessee Department of Transportation to the Nashville Department of Transportation and Multimodal Infrastructure to provide additional funding for the construction phase of the Lebanon Pike Sidewalk Project. RS 2022-1681 by Suara authorizes the Metro Department of Law to settle the personal injury claim of Senyetta Smith against the Metro government in the amount of $11,000. And RS 2022-1682 by Evans, Syracuse, Bradford, Hager, and Mendez recognizes the retirement of Davidson County Division 7th Circuit Court Judge David Randy Kennedy. Committee reports, Budget and Finance, Councilmember Allen. Councilmember Suara.
Thank you. Budget and Finance considered all the items on consent, and we voted, we recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against for all the items except for RS 2022-1668, where the vote is 8 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember. Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. The Planning and Zoning met and considered Resolution RS 2022-1665 and recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, Councilmember. Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture, Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you, Pro Tem. Public Facilities, RS 2022-1663, we approved, 6 in favor, none against. 73, 74, 75, 6 in favor, none against. 76, 77, 78, 6 in favor, none against. And 1679, 6 in favor, none against.
Thank you, Councilmember. Public Health and Safety, Councilmember Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Public Health and Safety considered items number 1662, 1663, 1667, 1668, and 1670, and we voted in favor for each of these, 6 in favor, 0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember. Rules Confirmation and Public Elections, Councilmember Verscher.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. On RS 2022-1682 and 1683, rules recommended approval, 8-4-0 against.
Thank you, Councilmember. And Transportation and Infrastructure, Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. We recommended approval, 10 in favor, 0 against, RS 2022-1680, and I move approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Councilmember. Consent agenda is moved and seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Nash.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I be added as a sponsor on 1682? And I'm curious if the Murphy rule might be appropriate. I don't know how many people know Judge Kennedy, but he's been around here a long time and worked on a lot of inheritance cases and whatnot.
Great, thank you.
Murphy.
Not a thing. Make a motion? Yeah. All right. You want to take it off consent? We can do that? Okay. All right. 1682 is off consent for the purpose of adding sponsors. That's right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda passes. Thank you.
One thing I found, 1682 and 83. we're going to go back and pick up those resolutions that were not on consent. First one is item number 32. It is RS 2022-1633 by Councilmember Hall. Resolution requesting the creation of a task force described herein to initiate a study to determine the 5 most probable locations for potential waste transfer stations within the county to be completed no later than July 31st, 2023. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized.
I'm going to defer this to the first meeting in September.
All right, we'll get the committee report.
Committee report, please.
No problem. Councilmember Withers, Planning and Zoning.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning met and considered Resolution RS 2022-1633 and recommended approval. 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Okay. Transportation, Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We did not recommend approval. 2 in favor, 6 against, and 1 abstention.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Hall, back to you.
And I'm sorry, I misspoke. It was 1 meeting deferral, not the first meeting in September.
Okay, so the request is to defer this one meeting. All right, properly seconded. Any discussion on the deferral motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of 1 meeting deferral say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. This one's deferred 1 meeting. Okay. Next one I've got is RS 2022-1666 by Councilmember Young. Item number 37, it's a resolution authorizing the Metropolitan Development Housing Agency to negotiate and enter into a pilot agreement, accept payments in lieu of ad valorem taxes with respect to a multifamily housing project located at 619 Main Street, known as Stone Bridge Lofts. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
All right, Budget and Finance, Councilmember Allen. Oh, Councilmember Sawar's got this one. Okay, Councilmember Sawar.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget voted 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right.
Approval.
Thank you. Affordable housing, who's got that one? Oh, Councilmember Hauser.
Yes, we approved as amended, which was a housekeeping amendment. 6 in favor, 0 against.
Okay. All right, back to you, Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I'd like to move the substitute, which is corrects a typo in the caption.
All right, so Councilmember Young has moved a substitute resolution on RS 2022-1666, properly seconded. He described what it does. Any discussion on the substitute? Seeing none. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. Substitute's on. Councilmember Young.
Move approval as substituted.
Councilmember Young has moved approval of RS 2022-1666 as substituted, properly seconded. Any discussion on the measure? Seeing none, ready to vote. All those in favor of RS 2022-1666 as substituted say aye. Opposed, no. The resolution as substituted passes. All right, next one up is 73, 74. Is it all the way at the end? $16.82. Okay. Next one we've got is item number 53, RS 2022-1682 by Councilmember Evans, Syracuse, Bradford, and Hager. It's a resolution recognizing the retirement of Davidson County Division 7 Circuit Court Judge David Randy Kennedy. Councilmember Evans, you are recognized.
Thank you. I'd like to move approval and add anyone voting in the affirmative as the co-sponsor, please.
This is the one that Councilmember Nash got all screwed up, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. So Councilmember Evans has moved passage of RS 2022-1682 and have everybody named as a sponsor who votes in the affirmative. Properly seconded. Councilmember Van Rees, you're recognized.
Yes, I want to thank everybody for the opportunity actually to tell you a quick story, and I know it's worth it, honestly. In September, I believe it was 2004, Joan and I had decided to change our names legally. I was Nancy Reese, she was Joan Van Bueller. We went through the process of probate to be able to change our names and appeared before Judge Kennedy. At the time, he looked down at the docket, saw both of us there, and said, "Y'all want to do this together?" So we stood in front of a judge and swore that we weren't changing our name in order to escape creditors. But he knew why we were there. it meant the world to us, and it will always be part of our family. So I just wanted to say that, and blessings to the Kennedy family. Thanks.
All right. Very good. Anybody else? Anybody else with good stories about Judge Kennedy, or are we going to hold those for when he shows up here? We're going to hold them. Okay. All right. So the motion is to approve the resolution, and anybody voting in the affirmative listed as a sponsor was properly seconded. Anything else? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. We're on item number 54, RS 2022-1683 by Council Members Syracuse, Withers, Evans, and others. The resolution recognizing the Music City Chorus as the 2022 Barbershop Harmony Society International Champions. Council Member Syracuse, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Second verse, same as the first. I'd like to move approval. Everybody voting in the affirmative to sign on as co-sponsors.
All right. Let me get Rules Committee. I think you had to go there.
Thank you. Rules Committee report, please.
Councilmember Vercher.
Recommended approval, 8-4-0 against.
All right. Okay, so Councilmember Syracuse, back to you.
Thank you. Move approval. Everybody in the affirmative sign on as co-sponsor, because these guys are willing to come and sing for us. So that's worth everybody's signature. Thank you.
All right. Are we going to have Judge Kennedy sing for us?
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Maybe he can sing with them. All right. So RS 2022-1683, everybody voting in the affirmative be listed as a sponsor on the resolution. The motion is to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Councilmember Allen is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. I just was going to request that they do come sing, so let's make that happen.
All right. All right. Anybody else? We're voting on the resolution. All those in favor of the resolution 1683 say aye. Opposed, no. Resolution is adopted. All right, we are now on item number 55, RS 2022-1684 by Councilmember Hall. This is a resolution supporting District 1, the Bordeaux community and its residents, in condemning any future environmentally unsound infrastructure development services in the district. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized on your resolution.
Committee report, please.
All right, rules and confirmations, Councilmember Vercher.
We deferred it by rule.
Okay. All right, so it's automatically deferred by rule. Okay. All right, we're now on item number 56, RS 2022-1685 by Councilmember Swope. Resolution confirming the Metropolitan Council of Nashville and Davidson County welcomes the 2024 Republican National Committee National Nominating Convention to Nashville, Tennessee. Councilmember Swope, you're recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. I believe I need a committee report.
Committee report. Councilmember Vercher, rules and confirmations.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We recommended an indefinite deferral, 7-4-0 against, and we did not consider the amendment.
All right. So it's my understanding under Rule 8, any ordinance or resolution that receives a recommendation of indefinite deferral from 2/3 of the members present and voting of any committee to which it is referred over the objection of the sponsor shall be indefinitely deferred at the regular council meeting following the report of the assigned committee. So this one is pursuant to rule, it's automatically deferred.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Council Member Swope. We're now on item number 57, RS 2022-1686 by Councilmember Hurt. This is a resolution opposing the Republican National Convention in Nashville and Davidson County. Councilmember Hurt, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move to withdraw.
Okay, do you want to move to withdraw or just withdraw? Okay, Councilmember Hurt withdraws the resolution. All right, thank you, Councilmember Hurt. We have one late filed resolution. It is in your packet. Let me see if I can find it. It is by Councilmember Allen, and it is dealing with the Homeless Management Information System. Councilmember Allen, 54, page 54 of here it is. It's a resolution approving Amendment 2 to a Homeless Management Information System Capacity Building Project Grant Agreement between the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development and the Metropolitan Government acting by and through the Social Services Department to contribute to the national effort to end homelessness. Councilmember Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
All right, so it would have had to go through rules first. Councilmember Vercher.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. There were no objections.
No objections. So did it go through any other committees that you know of?
Not that I know of.
Okay. So
Budget and Finance.
did it go through Budget and Finance?
Yeah.
Councilmember
Yes,
Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance recommend approval, 8-4-0 against.
All right, thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Allen, back to you. Need to suspend the rules to get this.
I would like to ask to suspend the rules, please.
All right, so Councilmember Allen has moved to suspend the rules to get this resolution before us tonight. Any objection to suspending the rules to get this one heard tonight? Seeing none, rules are suspended. You're on your resolution.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval.
All right, so Councilmember Allen has moved for approval of this late file resolution regarding the Homeless Management Information System. Proper motion, proper second. Any discussion on this late file resolution? Seeing none, all those in favor of the resolution say aye. Opposed, no. You adopt. Okay, I believe that was all for late file. We just had one late file resolution. All right, we are now ready for bills on introduction and first reading. I know that a request has been made to bump item number 66, BL 2022-1387, from the consent agenda for first bills on first reading. Anything else that needs to be bumped? All right, I need a motion to adopt all bills on introduction and first reading with the exception of item number 66. Got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion on the motion to approve everything on bills on introduction and first reading with that one exception? Seeing none, all those in favor of the bills on introduction and first reading say aye. Opposed, no. Bills on introduction first reading passes. Item number 66, this one was bumped off of introduction first reading. BL 2022-1387 by Councilmember Swope. Ordinance approving an agreement between the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County, the Nashville 2024 Host Committee, and the Republican National Committee for the 2024 Republican National Convention. Councilmember Swope, you are recognized.
Thank you, Your Honor. Tonight, we have an opportunity to stand up and declare that no matter what the perceived political climate is in our great country, Nashville has been and will hopefully remain the most inclusive, welcoming city in America. Being the nonpartisan body we are elected to be, I ask that you put any partisan ideologies aside for just a moment and consider the true long-term impact of what we are considering. This ordinance approves a contract between Metro and the RNC to bring the 2024 nominating convention to Nashville. Financially, the contract between Metro and the RNC fully indemnifies Metro from any and all financial obligations in hosting the convention. Net revenues are estimated to exceed $200 million to the entire Middle Tennessee community, as well as $50 million from the feds, $25 million from the state, and the RNC Host Committee agreeing to cover any and all additional expenses Metro may incur. This is a win-win, no-lose opportunity for our city and our state. Yes, security is a concern, but it is absolute common practice for any national convention to provide over 5,000 additional police, fire, and EMT personnel to assist in the security of these international events. They will operate under the direction of MMPD, under the guidance of the Capitol Police, and Homeland Security. We have flawlessly executed citywide events in excess of 200,000 guests in the downtown area without incident for decades. I'm confident we can handle the RNC. Relating to other existing conventions, in a conversation with Charles Stark, he was very clear in stating that the RNC has not even chosen their firm dates yet. To say that the RNC would displace 3 existing conventions is simply not true. That's a worst-case scenario, and we'd have to displace 3 different conventions ranging in size from 2,500 to 6,000 people. Best case, we move 1 of about 3,000 people. Now, the shifting of events happens every day in the convention business, and if any conventions were asked to move, the host committee would cover any and all expenses in making this change happen. Now, aside from the enormous financial gains, the guaranteed security precautions, and the simple fact that conventions shift dates every single day of the year, the real and present danger of not supporting this ordinance is the international damage that saying no will do to Nashville's stellar, welcoming, and inclusive reputation. We are National Geographic's #1 place in the world to visit, furthering our international status as one of the greatest inclusive cities on earth. Nominating conventions are world-class events. They open respectful civil discourse between parties. They remind us that America is the greatest country on earth, which grants everyone the right to free, unencumbered speech due to our Constitution and particularly the First Amendment. No matter where you're from, what color you are, what religion you worship, or what political ideology you uphold. There's really only one question you need to ask yourselves tonight. If you say no to hosting the RNC in Nashville, which half of the country or which selective group within that are you going to say no to next month or next year? And what long-lasting consequences, both practical and political, are we inviting upon our city in the future? I intend to vote yes. I may be the only person in the room, but so be it. I believe the future in Nashville is at stake. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Swope. Councilmember Young, you're recognized.
Previous question.
Okay, Councilmember Young has called the previous question. All right. So we're not voting on hold on just a second. You got a motion. I need a motion from you to pass.
I would move BL 2022-1387
for passage on
on first reading.
All right, and properly seconded. Okay, so Councilmember Young has moved the previous question. We're voting not on the motion to approve the bill on first reading. We're just voting on the previous question. All those in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We're voting on this bill, BL 2022-1387, for passage on first reading. That's the motion. All right, Mr. Clerk, we're going to go on the board. Right. Okay, so we are now voting. This is the motion to approve on first reading BL 2022-1387. Again, Councilmember Swope has moved to approve. It was properly seconded. Machine is ready. Mr. Clerk, open up the machines. Ready? All right. Votes are in. Mr. Clerk, close the machines. Take the vote. Ayes 10, noes 22, 3 abstentions. The motion fails. Okay. All right. We go on. We are now ready for bills on second reading. I'm sorry. I have to take up one last item. We have a late filed measure by Councilmember Gamble. This is a late filed bill that came through. Let me see if I can find this one. In the amendment packet was really long. 61. Thank you. Okay. So, Councilmember Gamble, this is an ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing the preliminary plan for property located at Mulberry Down Circle, unnumbered, and a portion of property located at Dickerson Pike, unnumbered, approximately 930 feet west of Dickerson Pike. It's 25.43 acres. The purpose is to clarify some language in ordinance number BL 2022-1310, setting the maximum allowable residential units to 149 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Gamble, you are recognized on your late filed ordinance.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This is a cleanup of a bill 2022-1310 that we passed on third reading in this body at the last meeting. After the bill passed, it came to our attention that there was a typographical error in the bill denoting a different number of units. 149 units has always been in the plan. We've had several community meetings about this project prior to it going to the Planning Commission and being approved unanimously without opposition at the Planning Commission. Also had a public hearing here on first reading with no opposition. Nothing is changing in the plan. I'll let Ms. Mulligan speak to the error that this bill will have to fix. Thank you.
Ms. Mulligan.
Sure. So the caption of the bill indicated the proper number of units, 149. The plan attached to the bill also indicated the proper number of units. Section 3 indicated 26, which is the number of buildings, not units. And so we need to get that corrected so that it indicates the number of units to 149.
All right, thank you. So Councilmember Gamble, I need, I think, two things. Did it go before Rules Committee, Councilmember Vercher?
Yes, committee reports, please.
Councilmember Vercher?
There were no objections.
All right. So, Councilmember Gamble, I think what I need for you to do is move to suspend the rules to get this one before us.
Thank you. I move to suspend the rules.
All right. So, Councilmember Gamble is moving to suspend the rules to get this ordinance before us tonight. It's a late file bill going on first reading. Any objections to suspension of the rules? Seeing none, rules are suspended. You're on your bill on, and what you need is a motion to approve for first reading.
Motion to approve on first reading.
All right, so the motion is to go ahead and approve on first reading, properly seconded. Any discussion on this bill? Okay, motion is to approve on first reading. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The motion is approved. All right, thank you, Councilmember Gamble. I think we're now back on track. We are now on bills on second reading. All right, it's on page 29 of my calendar. First bill up, well, let me take up the consent calendar first, and then we'll come back to the bills. We do have a couple on consent. Let me go through those. Bill 2022-1142 is on consent, okay? BL 2022-1321, that's item number 86, is on consent. BL 2022-1352 is on consent. 1356 is on consent. 1372 is on consent. 1373 is on consent. 1374 is on consent. 1375 is on consent. 1376 on consent. 1377 on consent. And 1378 is on consent. Anything needs to be bumped off the consent calendar on second reading? All right, here we go. These are bills on second reading consent. Item number 84, BL 2022-1142 by Council Members Parker and Hurt. It's an ordinance to amend Title 17 by canceling a portion of a plan unit development overlay district for properties located at 301 North 2nd Street and 651 and 660 Joseph Avenue at the northeast corner of Dickerson Pike and Meridian Street, zone RM20. It's 14.52 acres. Next item up is item number 86, BL 2022-1321 by Councilmember Withers. Ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by changing from CS and IR to SP zoning for properties located at 501 and 515 Crutcher Street at the northeast corner of Crutcher Street and South 5th Street, 6.82 acres. Number 88, BL 2022-1352, Murphy, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government of Nashville and Davidson County to relocate a fire hydrant assembly for property located at 17 White Bridge Road, also known as Chewy's White Bridge Pike Restaurant. Item number 89, BL 2022-1356 by Murphy, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to accept a new sanitary sewer main, sanitary sewer manhole and easements for property located at 409 and 411 McAdoo Avenue. Item number 90, BL 2022-1372 by Mendes and Benedict. Ordinance to amend Title 2, Chapter 210 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws by adding an additional requirement to Nashville's Do Better Bill. Bill 2022-1373 by Evans and Hancock. Ordinance to amend Chapter 10.64 of the Metropolitan Code pertaining to the Fire Prevention Code, Section 13.3.5.1 of the NFPA 101 Life Safety Code, and Sections 18.5.5.1 of the NFPA 1 Fire Code. Bill 2022-1374, item number 92, Allen and Young. Ordinance amending Metropolitan Code of Law, Section 15.48.300, new water meter installation inspection charges to clarify charges for service related to meters. Item number 93, BL 2022-1375, Allen, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the granting of a permanent and temporary construction easement to Piedmont Natural Gas Company on certain property owned by the Metropolitan Government located at 0 County Hospital Road. Item number 94, BL 2022-1376 by Parker, Allen, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the acquisition and conveyance of certain right-of-way easements, drainage easements, temporary construction easements, and property rights by negotiation and condemnation for use in public projects of the Metropolitan government, acting by and through NDOT for Dickerson Pike sidewalk improvements. Item number 95, BL 2022-1377 by Withers and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government of Nashville and Davidson County to abandon existing sanitary sewer easement rights for property located at 1620 Corporate Place. And last one, item number 96, BL 2022-1378 by Taylor, Withers, and Young. Ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government to abandon existing public sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes and to accept new sanitary sewer main and sanitary sewer manholes. Property located at 1610 Church Street, also known as the Project C Hotel. All right, things that need to be bumped off of the consent calendar. Okay. Item number 84, BL 2022-1142 is going to be bumped off the consent calendar. Anything else that needs to be bumped off the consent calendar? All right. All right, so that one bill was bumped off. That was BL 2022-1142. I need some committee reports, budget and finance. Councilmember Suara, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Budget and Finance considered Bill 2022-1372, 74, 75, and 76. We recommend approval, 940 against.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Hancock, Government Operations.
Government Operations considered BL 2022-1373, and we voted in favor, 7 in favor, 0 against.
All right, Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning considered BL 2022-1321, 1375, 1376, and 1377, and recommended approval of those, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Did you have one 1378? It's listed on here, but I don't know if you...
I sure did. That was on my next page, and I forgot to flip it over. Okay. And that one was also recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you. 1373 goes to Public Health and Safety. Councilmember Evans.
We considered 1373 and approved it, 6 in favor, 0 against.
All right, thank you. And Councilmember Young.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. We recommended approval, 10 in favor, 0 against, BL 2022-1374, 75, 76, 77, 78, and I move approval of the consent agenda.
All right. Councilmember Young moves approval of the second reading consent agenda. Properly seconded. Any discussion on the second reading consent agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Second reading consent agenda passes. All right, let's go back to item number 83. That is BL 2022-1115 by Councilmember Mendez, Rosenberg, Allen, and others. It's an ordinance amending section 13.08.080 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws pertaining to the use of license plate reader, license plate scanner technology to exclude assisting with immigration enforcement as an allowed use of LPRs. Councilmember Mendez, you're recognized.
Committee reports, please.
All right, I've got Public Health and Safety, Councilmember Evans.
We had approved as amended, 5 in favor with 1 abstention.
Okay. And Councilmember Young, Transportation.
We recommend approval, 10 in favor, 0 against.
Okay. Councilor Mendez, you're recognized.
I'd like to move the amendment with an explanation.
All right. So there's an amendment in your packet from BL 2022-1115. Councilmember Mendez moves approval. Properly seconded. Back to you.
So just for background, back when we were having the LPR debate, I think January, a couple days, maybe half a week before we made the vote, we got a letter from the police chief and the head of NDOT making clear that license plate readers wouldn't be used for federal civil immigration enforcement. And this bill was meant to document that in the code. Questions came up about both the ordinance and the letter from the police chief about whether that would trigger the state's sanctuary policy law, and it was deferred. You'll all recall that I wanted to have it deferred till after we got done with the budget so it could be thought through more carefully. And as discussed during committee, in working with Metro Legal and with Director Darby, this amendment is designed to mitigate the risk of the state being able to say that this is a sanctuary policy. I
want to thank both committees also for the lengthy discussion about the bill. Appreciate the votes recommending. I'm happy to answer any questions, but a lot of folks in the room were there for one or both of the committee discussions.
All right, so Councilmember Mendez has moved Amendment 1 to 2022-1115. It's been properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment's adopted. Now you're on your bill as amended.
Move approval on second reading as amended.
All right, so Councilmember Mendez has moved approval of 2022-1115 as amended for a passage on second reading. Properly seconded. Discussion on the bill as amended. Seeing none, we're ready to vote. All those in favor of Bill 2022-1115 as amended on second reading, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? No. Okay, so got one no vote. Anybody else? Okay, bill passes on second reading. All right, we're now on item number 84, Bill 2022-1142 by Council Members Parker and Hurt. This is an ordinance to amend Title 17 of the Metropolitan Code by canceling a portion of a planned unit development overlay district for properties located at 301 North 2nd Street and 651 and 660 Joseph Avenue at the northeast corner of Dickerson Pike and Meridian Street, Zone RM20. It's 14.52 acres. Councilmember Parker, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'd like to move a deferral to the first meeting in September with a brief explanation.
All right, let me get the Planning and Zoning Committee report. Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Committee met and recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
Okay. All right. Back to you, Councilmember Parker.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. This needs to track with the other two zoning bills related to this that will be have a public hearing at the first meeting in September, so I'd like to defer it to that meeting.
All right, so the motion is to defer this one to the first meeting in September. Okay, proper second. Any discussion on the deferral motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to defer BL 2022-1142 to the first meeting in September say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Deferral motion passes. This one will move to the first meeting in September. All right, we are ready for item number 85, BL 2022-1250 by Councilmember Stiles, Welsh, Toombs, and others. It's an ordinance to amend Title 2 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to create the Nashville Entertainment Commission. All right, Councilmember Stiles, you're recognized on your bill.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
I've got Public Facilities, Arts, and Culture. Councilmember Bradford, you're recognized.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Public Facilities, we did not take up the substitute due to lack of a second. The bill as is, we failed to approve if there was no votes in favor, 4 votes against, 2 non-voting.
Okay. All right, thank you. And I think that was all the committee reports that we had. So back to you, Councilmember Stiles.
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. I would like to move for approval with a brief comment, please.
All right, so Councilmember Stiles is moving for approval, properly seconded. Back to you for comment.
Thank you very much. So, colleagues, for over a month, we've been discussing a much-needed solution to addressing how we engage and support our creative communities here in Nashville, and certainly a conversation that's been long overdue, and I'm very excited that we're addressing it right now. In all of the iterations that the conversation is taking place, it's been very much long overdue. And certainly, in the midst of this, we've received a lot of stakeholder support for this particular legislation. We've received emails every single time we've come here for a second reading. And these are stakeholders that represent music, film, television, all of our new industries that have been here in town. And I started this work over a year ago, speaking initially in regards to the creation of an office for entertainment and talking to Savannah and Atlanta and Austin, New York, Boston, just many different entities to figure out how they put them together and what that would entail, and very often was told that commissions came along with that. And so when I spoke with the mayor's office a few months ago in regards to the research I had been doing, they were supportive of the idea of having an office that was inclusive of music, film, and entertainment. And during the State of Metro, the mayor did announce that he was going to allocate some funding for its creation. This project in particular has been important to me because of my own background as a performer and also a union member within those fields. And I understand that music, we are Music City, USA, and that's always going to be our foundation, but we have not been equitable in terms of how we've addressed the creative arts, in terms of how we've dealt with music and dealt with film and television. And I think this commission provides us an opportunity to have everyone at the table in one place to speak to the needs at one time and not create additional silos. A lot of the work that we do in here across the board deals with silos and people not talking to one another. And so it's important to have all of these voices at the table and not try and break them up in order to put one particular industry above the other. And so in talking to stakeholders here in town and also to speaking people out of town, what ended up coming to pass was creating a commission that is now proposed to be 11 members, 3 appointed by the council, 3 appointed by the mayor, 3 that would be union representatives from the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio, as well as IATSE, which is a stagehand union, and also the American Federation of Musicians, and then 2 individuals that would be from the entertainment industry here in town to make sure we have executives and also people that are boots on the ground to get a full perspective of what's happening in town. So this commission would be committed to diversity and equity in a way that we have not had in the past. It's a conversation, and speaking with many people, they've been frustrated by the lack of representation.
Councilman Stiles, go ahead. I do need to mention to you, so you can move your substitute. You haven't done that, but you can move that if you want, okay?
Thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Well, as it has been my time, I really want to encourage people, this commission is not in the replacement of an office for music, film, and entertainment. That's been committed to by the mayor's office. This is a supporting entity that can help with promoting, help with creating educational bridges to our programs here in town with Belmont and MTSU and our high school programs such as Pearl Cohen. This is just additional hands to do the work that's been so long overdue. And I'm just hoping that we don't get confused and get mired down in creating entities for the right reasons, listening to stakeholders. We did have a meeting last night, and we had a breadth of perspectives. A lot of the conversation last night focused on the creation of the office, which I think created some confusion. And this is not about the office. This is specifically about a Nashville Entertainment Commission and being able to create an entity which, frankly, I believe would work very well with the state. And having spoken with Bob Raines at the state and have been to a few of the meetings for the Entertainment Commission, I think this would help us in being able to increase incentives for the state, incentives that can come to projects here in Nashville. And I'm hoping that we can move forward with this, listening to what stakeholders have said in support of this legislation and have been asking, why are we not moving forward? And I think when we get into personal squabbles, we can forget about the constituency that we're serving. So I would just ask for your approval this evening, and I would like to move the substitute.
All right, so just clarifying what Councilmember Stiles' motion is to move the substitute.
Yes.
Okay, and that is properly seconded. All right, so that's what is before us now is a motion for the substitute. I'm looking for the cue. Councilmember Toombs on the substitute.
On the main bill.
No, on the main bill. Councilmember Mendez on the substitute.
Thanks, Vice Mayor. And this comment is mainly for the people who did email this time and have emailed previously. Just to be clear, I mean, this is a topic that somewhere between 5 and 10 council members take very, very seriously, and they can't reach agreement on anything. From all appearances, conversations have gone poorly and continue to go poorly. I believe the mayor's office has tried to convene a compromise. I suspect the vice mayor has attempted to convene a compromise, and in the event of a minority of us, a relatively small number of us, caring passionately about it, but absolutely no compromise, my position is going to be I'm a no on everything. Until some semblance of compromise and agreement comes out. And I don't know substantively whether that's the right thing or not. We got a $2 billion stadium coming. We got all sorts of problems in life, and having 40 of us get to the bottom of who shot John and who's right and who's in the wrong on this, I suspect is never going to happen. And so to the folks that have emailed, I appreciate the passion, and I'm explaining why I'm a no vote on all this stuff until some compromise breaks out.
All right. Thank you, council member. Anybody else? We're on the substitute, all right? Anybody else on the substitute? Not on the bill, just on the substitute. All right, we'll try it by voice vote. All those in favor of the substitute say aye. Opposed, no. All right, I can't tell, so we'll have to go on the board. Now remember, this is not on the bill. This is just on the substitute, all right? So the motion is by Councilmember Stiles to approve the substitute on BL 2022-1250. Mr. Clerk? Tell me when you're ready. We're just voting on the motion to approve the substitute on BL 2022-1250. Okay. Mr. Clark, open up the machines. Again, you're voting on a motion to approve the substitute on BL 2022-1250. All right. Mr. Clerk, close machines, take the vote. Ayes 18, noes 8, 6 abstentions, so the substitute is on. Councilmember Stiles, you're now on BL 2022-1250 as substituted.
Thank you very much. I would like to move for approval, please. Did you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
I said I would like to move, but I wanted to move for approval.
Okay. All right. So Councilmember Stiles has moved for approval of BL 2022-1250 as substituted. Properly seconded. Discussion, Councilmember Toombs.
Call the question.
All right. Councilmember Toombs has called the previous question. Is that a first for you? Yeah. Okay. So Councilmember Swope, I think, has an award for you, and so does Councilmember Young, since they're not used to that. All right, so we're not voting on the bill. We're simply voting on the previous question as to whether we're ready to vote. Councilmember Toombs has called the previous question. All in favor of the previous question say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Previous question prevails. We are on the bill as substitute, BL 2022-1250 as substituted. All right, I'm going to try this by voice vote. We're voting on the bill as substituted on second reading. All those in favor of BL 2022-1250 as substituted for passage on second reading say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. I think the noes have it, but just to be on the safe side, I think we go on the board. Mr. Clark, open up the machines. We're voting on a motion to pass BL 2022-1250 as substituted on second reading. It's a majority vote. Councilmember Taylor, Councilmember Hauser, y'all are sitting next to each other. Quit talking and vote. Move your chairs away from each other. All right. Everybody in? All right. Mr. Clerk, close the machines. Take the vote. Ayes 16, noes 14, 2 abstentions. Bill passes on second reading. Okay. We are now on item number 87, BL 2022-1344 by Councilmember Hall. That's an ordinance amending Title V of the Metropolitan Code to establish a development impact fee. Councilmember Hall, you're recognized.
Committee report, please.
All right, got 3 of them. Budget and Finance, Councilmember Suara. Councilmember Suara.
Oh, what did I do?
She's not paying attention, but she wasn't talking to you. I knew that. Councilmember Suara, we're on BL 2022-1344, the Councilmember Hall's bill.
Oh, thank you. The bill was deferred by rule.
Okay. All right. I'll get the other committee reports in. Government Operations and Regulations, Councilmember Hancock.
Government Operations and Regulations had a lively discussion that I encourage everyone to watch via the World Wide Web, and we passed the amendment, and then we moved for a 1-meeting deferral with a re-referral to our committee, 7 in favor, 0 against.
A 1-meeting deferral.
Oh, that was still unanimous.
Okay, so you passed the amendment.
Passed the amendment, and then we moved the bill as amended for a 1-meeting deferral.
1-meeting deferral. Okay. And
7 in favor, 0 against.
Okay.
Unanimous.
Great.
Unanimous.
Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Withers, you had the last committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning met and considered BL 2022-1344. We did recommend approval of the amendment, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions. Then we voted to defer 1 meeting and re-refer to our committee, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
First time. So we're just checking, but it looks like it was an automatic deferral from budget, so it automatically defers 1 meeting. Okay. Okay. All right. I think that clears off bills on second reading. We are now on third reading consent calendar. These are bills on the bills on third reading consent. Item number 97, the first one, 1131, is on consent. 1306 is on consent. 1329 on consent. 1343 is on consent. 1345 is on consent. 1348 is on consent. 1350 is on consent. 1353 is on consent. 1354 is on consent, and 1355 is on consent. Everything's on consent except for Nancy Van Reese's bill on item number 98, because she had the audacity to try to put an amendment on. Okay, so you don't have to do anything yet. Councilmember Van Reese, don't jump the gun. Oh, okay, you're just standing up. All right, does anything else have to be bumped off of the third reading consent calendar? All right, here we go. These are bills on third reading consent. Item number 97, BL 2022-1131 by Murphy, Withers, and Young, an ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan Government to abandon the easement rights located at 410 42nd Avenue North and 410B 42nd Avenue North, formerly a portion of Alabama Avenue, exempt for those retained by Nashville Electric Service. Item number 99, BL 2022-1306 by Councilmember Van Reese. This is a companion bill to BL 2022-1305, proposed specific plan zoning district located at 3039 and 3041 Hillside Road, approximately 660 feet south of Broadmoor Drive. Is 3.16 acres. Proposed ordinance requires certain materials to be restricted in the construction of buildings. Item number 100, BL 2022-1329 by Allen and Bradford, an ordinance permitting the Metropolitan Tourism and Convention Commission to hold its public meetings at the offices of the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation. BL 2022-1343 by Hurt, Porterfield, and Toombs, ordinance to amend Title III of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to create a new chapter relative to the hiring or selection of the head of a department or the executive director of a department, board, or commission. BL 2022-1345 by Evans and Young, ordinance to amend Title 15 of the Metropolitan Code, water, sewers, and other public services regulations pertaining to private fire hydrants. Item number 103, BL 2022-1348, Councilmember Withers, an ordinance adopting property identification maps for the Metropolitan government, which shall be the official maps for the identification of real estate for tax assessment purposes. BL 2022-1350, item number 104, Syracuse, Withers and Young, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government to negotiate and accept permanent easements for the Fairway Drive Stormwater Improvement Project for two properties located at 12 Fairway Drive and 2418 Dennywood Drive. BL 2022-1353 by Withers and Young, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assembly, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for property located at 4775 Drakes Branch Road, also known as Drakes Branch Phase 2. Item number 106, BL 2022-1354 by Cash, Withers and Young, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government to abandon existing water and combination sewer mains, sewer manholes, and easements, relocate a fire hydrant assembly, and accept new water and combination sewer mains, combination sewer manholes, and easements for two properties located at 2600 Jestingley Drive and 2555 West End Avenue, also known as Vanderbilt Athletics Phase 1. That's Cash, Withers and Young, the sponsors. And BL 2022-1355, Rutherford, Withers and Young, ordinance authorizing the Metropolitan government to accept new water and sanitary sewer mains, fire hydrant assembly, sanitary sewer manholes, and easements for four properties located on Cane Ridge Road, also known as the Parks at Cane Ridge Phase 1. Anything needs to be bumped off of that consent calendar? I have got two reports I need. Budget and Finance, Councilmember Sawara, you have one. Bill 2022-1329.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. We considered Bill 2022-1329, and we voted 9 in favor, 0 against.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Sawara. And Councilmember Withers, Planning and Zoning, you have one.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Planning and Zoning met and considered BL 2022-1306 and recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you. And Councilor Withers, can you give me a motion to approve third reading consent?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'd be delighted to move the consent calendar.
All right, Councilmember Withers has moved the consent calendar, and I think it was Councilmember Young that said he would second it.
Delighted.
Oh, he was delighted to. All right, any discussion on the third reading consent? Seeing none, all those in favor of all bills on third reading consent passing, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The third reading consent calendar passes. We are on the last bill of the night, item number 98, BL 2022-1305 by Councilmember Van Reese. Ordinance to amend Title 17 by changing from RS10 to SP zoning for properties located at 3039 and 3041 Hillside Road, approximately 660 feet south of Broadmoor Drive, 3.16 acres. Permit 30 multifamily residential units. Councilmember Van Reese, you recognize.
Committee reports, please.
All right. Planning and Zoning, Councilmember Withers.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. The Planning and Zoning Committee considered BL 2022-1305. We considered the amendment and recommended approval, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions, and the bill as amended, 9 in favor, 0 against, 0 abstentions.
All right, thank you. Councilor Van Reese.
Yes, I'd like to move the amendment with a brief explanation of the amendment.
All right, Councilor Van Reese moves an amendment to 1305, properly seconded. Back to you.
Yes, this is not the other amendment. This is an actual amendment that was requested by the community as well in support of the developer to ensure that the parking requirements happen in tandem and not side by side in order to preserve some green space. And that is, with that, I move the amendment.
All right, Councilmember Van Reese moves the amendment to BL 2022-1305, again properly seconded. Discussion on the amendment. Seeing none, we're on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment to 1305 say aye. Opposed, no. Amendment is adopted. You're on BL 2022-1305 as amended.
I would like to move this for approval as amended, please.
All right, so the motion is to approve 2022-1305 as amended for passage on third reading. Properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of BL 2022-1305 as amended for passage on third reading say aye. Opposed, no.
And with that, I move we adjourn.
The bill passes, and we have a motion to adjourn properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to adjourn say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. We stand adjourned.
So the council has concluded about a 2-hour and 50-minute meeting tonight, which was probably quicker than anybody would have thought given the number of zoning bills that were up here tonight and a couple of other issues that were before the council, but they went through them pretty quickly because they did not get into extended debate on a couple of things. The major action of the night by the council was after a continued discussion again about whether Nashville should seek to host the Republican convention in 2024 here in Nashville. The council rejected a potential contract with the Republican National Committee. It was defeated with only 10 votes in favor, 22 against, and 3 abstaining. There had been almost no debate by the council about it tonight. Once the bill actually came up, was taken out of order on first reading. Normally all first reading bills are approved in total without debate. In this case, it was taken out. It was going to be debated separately. Did have Robert Swope, who was the councilman who was in favor of moving forward on this, make a speech to the council basically saying Nashville's future was at stake and they did not go ahead and do this because it would hurt the city's reputation on a national level and an international level, he also said. The council members did not debate it further. When it came up after that, they took the vote pretty quickly and dispensed with it. There had been 2 earlier resolutions that we thought might be test votes, but the one that Councilman Swope had that put the council on record being in favor of bringing the convention here was deferred indefinitely by the council without any debate. And then also the other resolution that was more negative about having the convention here was withdrawn by the sponsor, Sharon Hurt, so that didn't even come up for a vote tonight, but the council pretty much rejecting and putting an end to any idea that Nashville is going to host the 2024 Republican National Convention in our city. The other major action for the night, the council approved on a consent calendar, which means there was no debate, and approved without dissent another bill that would deal with the situation with the change in the constitutional law from the Supreme Court ruling about abortion. This latest one adds an additional requirement. This bill is passed on second reading. It would add an additional requirement to Nashville's Do Better bill. It would require companies seeking economic and community development incentive grants agreements and pilot agreements, those are payments in lieu of tax agreements, with the Metropolitan government that they must provide employees with access to obtain medical treatment that is otherwise unavailable in their respective home state. That bill, again, has to come up for a final approval on third reading in 2 weeks, but given the way it passed on second reading tonight, that would appear to be just about a foregone conclusion. The council also, let me make one correction. I had said there was a second bill regarding abortion on the agenda tonight. There was not. There was an action the council took tonight on a bill that would move ahead on basically changing what the city's going to do about license plate readers. I had inadvertently said that this had something to do with abortion. Actually, it was about to keep the information that comes out from license plate readers from being used in immigration enforcement. So it had nothing to do with abortion. My apologies for giving that erroneous information out. The council also tonight saw the debate that was expected to be happening over the public hearing on the rezoning of the Rivercrest apartments on the East Bank over near the new huge Oracle development. Residents have been upset about being evicted over there, and they've been working on trying to stop the rezoning so they can find some affordable housing. And there is a new community benefits agreement that's been worked out between the neighbors and the Urban League that was supposed to be legally binding and cover a 30-year period. It contains some affordable housing units. Residents are not happy about that at this point, but for another reason, because there was a situation with a change in height restrictions over there that the council member wanted to get worked out. The bill has now been deferred. The public hearing will take place at the first meeting in September. Under other resolutions tonight, the council deferred a task force to initiate a study to determine the 5 most probable locations for a potential waste management transfer station within the county. The study is supposed to be completed by July 31st, 2023, but the meeting was deferred. The bill was deferred 2 weeks ago, deferred again tonight. Council approved a $685,000 money grant going to the Center for Nonprofit Management. It'll come in the Public Safety Violence Reduction Pilot Grant programs. It also accepted a $500,000 grant from the state to develop and implement an infant-based specialized infant and toddler court to serve children from birth through 36 months. A safe baby effort will look to reduce instances of child abuse, neglect, and endangerment to minimize the efforts of childhood trauma on small children and provide family stability. The council also accepted a $1.5 million grant from the Friends of Warner Park to pay for the next phase of improvements in Warner Park. Under memorializing resolutions, the council honored the retirement of Judge Randy Kennedy. Former member of this body, the council also recognized the Music City Chorus as the 2022 Barbershop Harmony Society International Champions. They did defer a bill on a resolution that would have supported District 1 and its residents, and also basically said there'd be no futurely environmentally unsound infrastructure development and services to be allowed in that district. The council did not want to go that far. The bill again was deferred tonight. The council also on second reading took up a bill that had been indefinitely deferred before. It was to establish a new Nashville Entertainment Commission. This has been a source of some controversy. In fact, there's a rival bill for this that's been on first reading that passed tonight. Will be up on second reading next time. The Election Entertainment Commission was finally voted on. It was amended further, and a substitute was put on. The council voted 16 in favor, 14 against, and 2. That passes it on second reading, but it might be in trouble for third reading because in 2 weeks, if it comes up for a vote in 2 weeks, it needs 21 votes, and it's still 5 votes short at this point to get that passed. The council is now in recess until the 16th of this month, the third Tuesday of the month. We'll be here at that time to provide live coverage. Until then, I'm Pat Nolan, and good night from the council chambers. Tonight's meeting of the Metropolitan Nashville and Davidson County Council has come to you live from the council chambers at the historic Metro Courthouse. It's been a public affairs presentation of the Metro Nashville Network.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.